Thanks, Tom. We're live in Times Square in New York as Donald Trump looks set to sweep to power as America's 45th president.
It's been a stunning, dramatic night, and while all the results have yet to be called in, Donald Trump looks set to defy all the odds and beat Hillary Clinton. We'll have the definitive result as and when it happens.
Good morning, Britain. Still too close to call, but after a dramatic night, Donald Trump looks set to become the next president of the United States.
You're watching a special, very dramatic edition of the programme live from New York, where we have witnessed quite remarkable scenes tonight. Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton were neck and neck for much of the night, but now the Republican candidate has been surging ahead.
Over the next few hours, we'll bring you the whole astonishing story and, of course, the result from here above Times Square.
We'll be live at the candidates' headquarters with Trump supporters and very despondent Clinton campaigners as the election result goes to the wire. We'll also be getting reaction from across America. Ranveer's in Washington, Richard Gatesford's in the crucial state of Florida, which Trump won a few hours ago.
It's been a night of twists and turns. It's certainly not over yet. We will bring you all the latest as it happens.
Wednesday, 9th of November, 2016. Live from Times Square, New York, this is Good Morning Britain. America Decides with Piers Morgan and Susanna Reid.
Good morning. Well, wow. It's just gone 6 o'clock with you in the UK. That's 1 a.m. here in New York. We're very near Times Square. That way is the Hillary Clinton campaign headquarters. That way, Donald Trump's headquarters. He, very happy, she's very miserable. The reason, Donald Trump looks set to defy all the odds, all the pundits, and beat Hillary Clinton in the race to be president. He currently has 244 Electoral College votes to Hillary Clinton's 215. The winner needs to secure 270.
It is probably not the result that you thought you'd be waking up to, but there is somebody who said this was the likely outcome. Piers Morgan.
Well, let's just make it clear, it is not the result yet, and Hillary Clinton can still technically win. But it's been an extraordinary night where at one stage Hillary Clinton was 6-1 on with the bookies to win. Donald Trump was 6-1 against. Now, the complete opposite. It's been one of the great turnovers, as they say in American sport, that's ever been witnessed in American presidential history. And right now, all the money is going on Donald Trump to be the next president. And it's a remarkable thing. The ultimate outsider, a non-politician. Donald Trump is the only person in the history of American presidential races to not be a politician or a member of the military to actually, if he wins, to become president, which is groundbreaking. As groundbreaking in a way as it was for Hillary Clinton to potentially be first female president. So what a night and what drama.
Yeah, and lots of people, of course, feeling very much like this is Brexit, you know, the USA Brexit version. Here's Jonathan Swain with the story of what has been happening over the last couple of hours.
Trump supporters chanting USA, and soon it could be their man who's running the country. It may not be the result that some in the rest of the world wanted, but it looks as if this ridiculed underdog could soon become the most powerful man in the world. It was a nervous night across America. All walks of life were glued to the results. But for Clinton supporters, it soon became a very glum night. It seems that Clinton is resigned to defeat, just tweeting this, thanking her supporters for their hard work. The White House, though, looked serene as the rush of results came in. The next occupant of this building needed to win the key swing states, and Ohio was the first to declare.
Donald Trump will take Ohio.
Supporters in Trump Tower knew the path to the presidency was becoming possible. The important state of Florida was too close to call for much of the night, but with just a few votes in it, it was finally awarded to Donald Trump. The prospect of a Trump win is already being severely felt across the world. Markets are down across Asia, and London is expected to follow suit this morning. Months ago, a win for him was never expected, but this has been a year for political turmoil.
This is bigger than Brexit. This is the most powerful man in the world, and he's about to change around the direction of America, and he'll do so with a Senate and a House of Reps on his side.
Mr. Trump is a candidate who's offended many along the way. Some communities now fear the fallout if he wins.
This man reflects every bad value that any human being can have, and it's just going to be hard to explain to our young people how this even happened.
This has been a bitter campaign, so Trump's first task will now be to unite these divided states of America. Jonathan Swain, Good Morning Britain.
Well, ITV News correspondent James Mates is at the Hillary Clinton election party headquarters. James, a sensational night. The really weird thing sitting here just off Times Square is, of course, both candidates are New Yorkers and they're both here. They're both within this square mile. So we really feel like we're at the epicenter of this unfurling drama. And the drama, it looked like earlier on it was going to be Hillary Clinton, runaway president. Now it looks like Donald Trump. What is the atmosphere at Trump's HQ?
Well, I'm at Clinton's HQ, so I'll assume that's what you meant. And it's pretty poor, I can tell you, Piers. They're waiting because Hillary is going to come at some point and presumably make a concession speech when it's mathematically impossible for her to win. But she'll be making it in a, I don't know if you can see from this angle, in an illuminated map of America with a podium in the middle. That was where she was meant to stand as the new president-elect, as the first woman ever to hold this office. The glass ceiling here was no accident. That was the metaphor that she was supposed to have shattered. And of course, absolutely none of it has happened, and they really can't quite believe it. They thought early in the night they could knock Trump out by winning Florida. That would make it impossible, but they failed to do that. They then failed to win Ohio. Actually, they lost that by a lot. And Trump's Rust Belt strategy, and traditionally Republicans have tried to win the presidency in the South, leaving the Rust Belt and the big industrial states of the North to the Democrats. Trump went the other way. He said, no, there were once Reagan Democrats, there can be Trump Democrats, I can win up there. And people, frankly, laughed at him, but he did it. Wisconsin, a state that Hillary Clinton was so confident she was going to win, that at no point in this entire campaign did she set foot in that state. Well, she lost it. Had she won it, she might have been president tonight. But that is the reality the Democratic Party is going to have to live with. They've been beaten by a billionaire who lives in a penthouse, who posed as an anti-establishment friend of the working class, and they were unable to resist that. She was unable to beat it. And, well, the mood says it all.
And James, what is the procedure over at Clinton HQ? And I'm sorry, I forgot you were there, not the Trump one. What is the procedure if Hillary Clinton, if we discover that the networks are calling it here, say for Trump in the next hour or so, will she come out? Will she talk to her people? Does she call Donald Trump, given the animosity between them? What are we expecting if it is called for Trump and Hillary's lost?
I think she will almost certainly do the gracious thing. It is absolutely traditional for the losing candidate to call the winner, to be the first call, to offer their congratulations. I'd be astonished if she didn't do that, if she didn't follow that protocol. And she will. I mean, she's known to be highly suspicious. There's no way that she was preparing a victory here without also preparing for defeat. That would have been to jinx herself. And we were told yesterday quite firmly that she had written both speeches. She and her staff had written both speeches, and she will deliver it. And it is the end of an extraordinary political career for her. I mean, this is someone who was predicted to be the first woman president before she ever met and married Bill Clinton. Well, she put all that to one side during those years, and then he said, now it's your turn, and she became a senator and tried to win the nomination, was beaten by Barack Obama, became his Secretary of State, just won the nomination this time, fighting off the insurgency by Bernie Sanders. And then they thought that Trump was so beatable, they were completely confident that the White House was hers. But she was the ultimate establishment candidate, the ultimate insider, and she got caught by the biggest anti-establishment wave on both sides of the Atlantic that any of us have seen in our lifetimes.
James Bates at Hillary Clinton.
I mean, you can feel the
headquarters.
atmosphere, can't you?
Well, we've
behind-
seen people
behind
in
James.
tears, people with their heads
Yeah.
in their hands. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, technically, according to the numbers, it is still possible, but they're utterly despondent behind him.
I mean,
their
it's to put it in
headquarters.
perspective for viewers who are just tuning into this. You know, I know in Britain this seems unthinkable that this has happened, but there's been a real movement around Middle America towards Donald Trump in recent weeks. And so some people here are not that surprised, and they just feel it's exactly like Brexit was back in Britain, where there were these silent people not being picked up in the polls who have been driven out by Trump on a sort of populist surge to go for somebody who's
Yeah.
completely anti everything that normal politicians stand for. So a remarkable night unfurling here in New York.
Well, let's talk to someone who's had his head in his hands already this morning, Jerry Springer, who, of course, has been with us throughout the whole campaign on the programme, and alongside you, John Fugelsang. John, we'll talk to you in a moment as well, but you actually were a Bernie backer,
Indeed.
weren't you? And Christian Tate alongside you, the only person probably with a smile on your face and
A big smile.
and,
Can we start with
out
a,
of all
start
three
with a
of you.
happy smile?
Exactly right. We have every
now,
reason to feel good.
It looks like Donald Trump, your guy, has pulled off what will be one of the greatest political coups in the history of American politics. How has he done this? If it transpires he's won, how has he done this?
If Donald Trump wins, which it's looking like he will, he has defeated Hillary Clinton, the Democrat Party, the Republican establishment, and the media single-handedly and with half the money of Hillary Clinton. Piers, you hit the nail on the head. This is a movement. The American people stood up today. They said enough with the establishment bureaucrats in D.C. who no longer represent the will of the American people. They showed up at the polls. We saw enthusiasm from all kinds of groups today. I just saw a poll before we went live that said Trump received more evangelical votes than any Republican in history to run for president.
What has it been like to be a vocal Trump supporter, to be on the media as you have been? Because there's been a real visceral hatred towards Trump driven by the media, many of whom pumped him up to start with for ratings and circulation and then tried to destroy him. But what has it been like for you, as somebody who's been a Trump surrogate, for want of a better phrase, to now have this moment where actually you've been proven right?
Well, watching the media, it's hysterical. I mean, it's like a funeral right now on CNN and a lot of these other networks. But before, tonight, these networks were acting like it was over. You know, Hillary and all of her surrogates thought she had it in the bag way too early. That's dangerous, and it probably demobilized her base because a lot of folks at home said, she probably has this. I might not go to the polls. Whereas Trump voters, they were chomping at the bit to vote. They're angry. They couldn't wait to go cast their ballots. They were going to stand in lines, do whatever they had to do to go cast their votes.
Okay, Jerry, on the other side.
Never seen a more miserable face in my entire life.
Well, this is the only face I have.
Apart from some of the guests on the Springer show, they're dragged out by security.
Yeah. Well, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
It looks like you guys won the race, so yeah, congratulations. What I would say, not necessarily in opposition, half of America stood up. I mean, this country is divided. I mean, this was not a landslide win. The result is going to be 50% of America plus one, whatever, voted for Trump, and 1% less than 50 voted for Hillary. So the country is deeply divided. That is what we are facing now. Now, some of the complaints that Donald Trump had, in fairness, he brought on by himself. He didn't have to say those negative things about Hispanics or Muslims or women or whatever. So it's not like the media just unfairly got angry with him. He said some things that, frankly, your campaign apologized for. But now what we have to do, you won.
Okay, Jerry, you, at some stage of this, you're going to have to suck it up because Hillary, if she's lost tonight, this is the biggest humiliation imaginable. She's lost to a guy who 18 months ago wasn't even a politician. How has this happened to one of America's great political royals?
The country is deeply, the fairness. This is not a personality show. The truth of the matter is the country is deeply divided, and she lost. But there have been candidates running for president that have lost 49 states.
Can I ask John next to you?
It's not like this is humiliating. She got beaten.
If Bernie Sanders had been the candidate, do you think he could have beaten Donald Trump?
I certainly do. There was no enthusiasm deficit on the part of that campaign. I think Vice President Biden could have beaten Trump as well. And, you know, it's a pleasure to be on your show. I have family in the UK, and friends throughout Europe always ask me to explain America. I say that we're the best and worst of the human species. And we're very, very smart. We're also very, very gullible. And what we saw tonight was folks who voted for Bush and Cheney, who then left our economy and our nation in a bit of an apocalyptic fire zone, who learned nothing. What we saw tonight was hardworking Americans who have been disenfranchised and left behind by an economy that was built by both parties, both Democrats and Republicans, share equal blame. But they just voted to stick it to the man by voting for a billionaire landlord who wants to cut taxes on the wealthy 4 points deeper than Bush did.
Right, how damaging was Hillary Clinton's comment that they were a basket of deplorables? Half of Trump's voters, she said, were a basket of deplorables. They were racist, xenophobic, bigoted, homophobic, sexist, on and on she went. That is tens of millions of people, hard-working, decent Americans in many cases, right? I felt that was a pivotal moment in getting Trump's base to say, you know what, damn you, we're coming out.
Well, honestly, in fairness to Mrs. Clinton, she's been the subject of 25 years of unrelenting hate from a right-wing media machine that doesn't care about the truth, exonerated on Whitewater, the lies and the cynical exploitation of 4 Americans murdered in Benghazi for crass political gain, right down to the email kerfuffle. She was wrong to say it. It was stupid. It's another example of how Hillary Clinton, for all of her good points, is true. It's true she makes very bad judgments. But the reality is, Trump supporters are people who do not mind racism. They are not offended by sexual assault of women. They have no problem with bringing torture back. They do not mind the fact that this candidate wants to turn our roads into toll roads owned by private corporations.
Okay.
And they're going to find out that these policies are not going to be fulfilled.
Place to end, but we will come back to this. I know you're chomping at the bit. We will come back to this because
we need to just get an update on the numbers, of course. 270 is the threshold for the win. Ranveer is in Washington. How are we doing, Ranveer?
Well, it is still mathematically possible for Hillary Clinton to at least tie this with Trump. But of course, as you've been hearing this morning, it seems that all the momentum is with Trump. Look, this is a very wobbly Washington you joined me in this morning. Did I mention it was 2016? Did I mention it was the year of the underdog? Leicester, Brexit, Chicago Cubs, of course, Illinois, which is in Illinois where Hillary has won tonight, but it's made no difference, it seems. And now Trump. Look, as we've been hearing from Jerry Springer and other guests you've had there, you know, about 60 months ago when this very vulgar, nasty campaign started, Trump was on something ridiculous, like 3 to 5% of the national poll. And today he is right on the brink of walking in to the Oval Office. And the thing to note is that, as you were mentioning, that early on in this campaign, the kind of places that Trump has really hit home has been those areas where suicide of white men is at its worst rate. Now that tells you that he has truly tapped into people who not just felt that life was poor for them, but that there was no hope. So he has given them hope. He has given them a vehicle. And in a way, he sort of said it just quite recently at one of his rallies that it's almost as much him, but it is the message that people have really bought into here. And let me just remind you some of the things. We've talked a lot about character and personality flaws on both sides of the Democrats and the Republican nominees here. But some of the things that he has actually said he wants to do. I'm going to do massive tax cuts, he says. He says, look, I'm going to round up illegal immigrants here. And the thing that's interesting about that is that people thought, look, the Latino vote, the black vote, the Asian vote would all completely go against him for saying those sorts of things. But in effect, and I have found this, funnily enough, with my own family, I've got family who live in Ohio, some of them have voted for Trump. The reason? Because they say, look, we came here, we work hard, and actually we did it the right way. We don't want illegal immigration here. So the interesting thing is that you might say that he is divisive, but he's also tapped into a general feeling. And you think about the unions here, usually they're Democratic, they go for the Democrats. He obviously, clearly, you look at the numbers now, he clearly has tapped into the unions too. Now, for Obama, okay, so he's still in the White House tonight. Later on in the programme, I'm going to be joined by his body man, the guy who, his go-to man, he calls him his little brother, Reggie Love. You know, he's been playing basketball with him today. This is going to be utterly heartbreaking for him because he is progressive. He has tried for the last 8 years to change things, to become more socialist in this country. And now, one of the things that Trump has been saying in the last 48 hours at every rally he's been at, Obamacare. What a waste of money. I am going to repeal it. That's going to be the first thing I rip up to shreds. Now, that clearly in the last 48 hours has had a massive impact on people. And just as a side note to you, that in California, there's lots of other votes going on, of course, in the Senate, in the House of Representatives and so on. In California, they voted to legalise the recreational use of marijuana. It's a state that voted for Hillary, so I might suggest they probably need a spliff or two to get over this if Trump does get in.
All right, Ramveer, thanks very much indeed. That's the situation in Washington, D.C. An update of what's been happening so far this morning. Donald Trump is looking likely to become the 45th president of the United States. It's been a closely fought, bitterly divisive campaign. It looks like he's proving the pollsters wrong. Goodness me, we know about pollsters being proved wrong, don't we? Hillary Clinton looks like she's been beaten in the race to the White House.
Well, there were mass celebrations amongst Mr. Trump's supporters tonight, understandably, as he won the key states of Ohio, North Carolina and Florida.
Meanwhile, Hillary Clinton's camp have been looking on in disbelief, disappointment and tears as her bitter rival has gained ground. Jerry Springer with us all morning, and also alongside him Ben Ferguson, Republican.
Yeah.
But not a Trump supporter.
I would say this. I was very weary of Donald Trump early on, but I also was one of those that was like a lot of people where I was more never Hillary. I didn't trust her. I think the voters didn't trust her tonight either.
Okay, and you're alongside Eric Guster, who wanted Hillary. So
over Trump.
Yeah.
Originally, I was not a Hillary supporter, but looking at these two candidates, Hillary was definitely my choice because of everything Trump stood for.
So you were a never Trump. And you were a never Hillary.
Never Hillary.
Okay, so it looks like never Hillary's won, even though you weren't really an enthusiastic Trump supporter.
There's a lot of people that I think underestimated, one, the frustration with Hillary Clinton as a trustworthy person. I think it really resonated with her that she played for a different set of rules. I think the FBI heard her. I think you could see in the last 2.5 weeks of this campaign that people looked at her and they said, I just don't feel good about her. And
Was it also this, Ben? Was it also this? Was it the fact that Trump, even though he's very inflammatory, he comes out with all this stuff, he shoots from the hip, he's non-PC, which people in New York might find horrific. When I was down in Florida last night, they find him funny, entertaining, you know. Was it as simple as this, that Trump represented change, Hillary represented more of the same?
Absolutely.
And I think that is, that's what
I think that was one of the things where people underestimated him. There was a genuine wanting in this country to completely say to Washington, the hell with you. We're done with you, and we're going to do something new here, and we're going to do it. And one thing is, I think some people overestimated the media's, I think, obsession with the blunders of Donald Trump. There were a lot of people that still looked at him as the guy that was on The Apprentice as an entertainer, and they said, you know what?
By the way, nothing wrong with Celebrity Apprentice.
No, I mean, yeah. But I mean,
the finest shows on world television, and Trump's judgment was shown quite clearly when he elected me as his first Celebrity Apprentice.
Maybe you'll get a cabinet position. You know, you don't even have to. That could happen here.
Donald's been in touch, obviously. No, let's go to Jerry. Jerry, you look like a mausoleum. No offence, because you represent the crushing disappointment we saw at the Clinton camp.
Yeah.
Because Hillary, we were told by Barack Obama, was the most qualified candidate there had ever been for any presidential election. And on paper, that was true. Why is it that somebody that well qualified could lose to somebody who has never been in politics in his entire life?
Because the skill of getting elected is totally different than the skill of running a government. They're not related at all. And in today's media world, and the social media and television and all that it entails, it involves a different kind of a skill. So we are in an era where certainly people can win elections because they're great on television and they're kind of, and the person who may be more qualified to do the job but isn't very good on television will lose.
Okay.
So I don't find that stunning that she lost because of that.
Eric, what kind of a president do you think, if he does clinch this and he's so close, is he going to be?
I hope it comes more to the middle. So many people have stated that this is not the real Donald Trump, what we've seen in the election. I'm praying that he comes closer to the middle and bring everyone together, because what our country needs right now is healing. We are so divided on racial lines, on women versus men, on white versus black right now. We need someone who can come together and truly heal our country.
Does that feel like Donald Trump?
I think
I don't know.
I think you're going to like Donald Trump.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
I
think people have a very skewed idea of Trump from the campaigning style he adopted. And Ben and I have discussed this.
Well, is it a style he adopted, or is that an authentic person?
I've known Trump very well for a very long time. There are many different sides to Donald Trump. I suspect now, if he's won, we'd see a very different President Trump.
Extremely different.
To candidate Trump. Ben, what do
I'll
you
give
think?
you a great example. I don't think we're going to be talking about the wall very much moving forward. I don't think he's going to build it.
I hope
think
you're
a lot
right.
of that was.
Well, he can't build it. No one's going.
But here's
I hope you're right that he doesn't.
The things that
but his
people are
people are going to be really up and happy because that's why they voted for him.
And moderates are
One-term
going to end up liking Donald Trump. And here's why. This is where Donald Trump was also underestimated, that people completely miss this. You look at what's going to put him over the top tonight. It is going to be states where they used to be great in building things and having manufacturing jobs and
Michigan,
quality jobs.
Pennsylvania,
and guess what?
Wisconsin.
Hillary Clinton and the Democrats, they went there every 4 years and they told them they were going to take care of them, and they never did, and they left the Democratic Party for Donald Trump. That's a very stark moment.
Can I have
comes
30
down-
seconds to say something?
Yeah.
You go ahead.
It comes down to marketing. He was very basic. I'm a business owner. I'm a real estate developer. If you keep it simple for people, they will follow you. Donald Trump kept it so simple. I call this back last summer, where he came out and was very simple to the people. Very jobs, win. We're going to win so much you won't be able to stand it. Those are very simple concepts
terrorism,
that people
jobs,
simply
big
can
messages,
grab.
yeah.
And he got a grasp on all these people who were being ignored by the government, and that's what taking.
Jerry, your 30 seconds.
America is an idea. It is a special place on this planet. And it is the one place on earth where whatever your religion was, wherever your parents were from, whatever your ethnicity, this was the place on earth where you could seek freedom and come to. And that brand, which we sell to the world, was damaged. I hope not irreparably, because right now, the rest of the world must look at us and said, you guys really weren't serious about that.
Well, look,
you do not become a
gotta
patriot
disagree.
just by singing the national anthem. We got to mean what we say, that this country should be a place for everybody who wants to be the best they can be.
This is what I'll say. I think this is where Donald Trump is going to shock you, and he's going to shock you.
I hope so.
And I think he's going to make it simple, as you said earlier. I think he's going to look at the American people tonight. I think he's going to say, we're going to come together.
I agree.
And we're going to get
I hope
along.
so.
And I'm not as
Pray
crazy
God.
as some of you think that I am. And I'm going to win this thing, and I'm going to go to Washington. I'm going to find good people, the best people I can find in these places, and we're going to simplify how Washington works. And here's the other thing. I think people trust Donald Trump, and they did not trust Hillary Clinton. And if you trust a candidate enough to elect him president, you're going to trust him enough, I think, to give him a shot.
But you've already just said, Ben, that one of the things that he promised, a wall, is not going to.
Right,
Don't think it's going to happen.
I think that was some of the hyperbole.
How-
No, but I think if you notice, he came out and I said this. Look at what he said in his first 100 days. In his first 100-day plan, this was 4 months ago. Not one mention of building that wall in the first 100 days.
I don't agree with you. I think he will build the wall. I think he will do it. I think he will get Mexico to pay most of it, and he will say, you know what, we're going to do
If he does, that's unbelievable. That is the best.
I'm
That's
hoping
bigger
he
than any
comes
other thing
more to
that
the
you've
middle,
seen.
because we're so divided.
Let's have a little recap, because there are people tuning in, waking up in Great Britain. It's now 1:30 in the morning here in New York. We're just off Times Square. It's a kind of surreal thing, because both candidates are within a square mile of where we are.
Yeah.
So both the victory parties were set up. Trump's is all guns blazing and very celebratory. The Clinton camp looks like a morgue at the moment,
Yeah.
but it is not over yet.
No.
Trump has to get to 270 electoral college votes.
He's at
244. Hillary Clinton is below him at the moment. She could technically still pull this round, but it's highly unlikely. So if you're just tuning in, you may have to get used to the words Donald Trump is the new president of the United States of America. And that, I think we're all agreed, is a sentence that 2 years ago, none of us ever thought we'd be saying.
No.
So this is a political earthquake.
But we are
of
not saying it
epic
quite
proportions.
yet.
We're not.
Yes.
We're saying it
A lot
is
of things can
likely. And it is very exciting. There are results coming in all the time. We're going to keep bringing you all these results. But first of all, something even more exciting than the results of a presidential election, Alex has today's weather.
Hello, good morning, Piers and Susanna. Clearly a political storm taking place in the United States at the moment. Donald Trump snowballing across America. Back here, we have seen a few flakes of snow and also a lot of rain. I certainly got woken up last night by the pitter-patter on the windowsill. But yes, we've seen some snow over the tops of the hills across the Pennines, also the Scottish Mountains, all the places we expected to see that snow. 2 to 4 centimetres in places, so not a great deal of snow, and we will see that rain and snow clearing away to the east as we go through today. There will be some showers following in behind this band of rain out towards the west, but through the central spine of the country it will be staying largely dry with some bright spells of sunshine. But further south we are going to see the winds picking up across North Devon, north parts of Cornwall. We could see gales it's starting to push in. You can see this on the latest satellite and radar picture. This is that fairly heavy band of rain which came in last night out towards the west. We're starting to see some showers pushing in, and some of these showers they may be on the heavy side as well. We do have that yellow warning still in place at the moment, but that expires at 9 o'clock this morning for the snow, that is. We can see that band of rain eventually pushing out into the North Sea. You can see the showers coming in behind. They are going to be quite well scattered, and inland it is going to be staying largely dry, as I say, with some bright spells of sunshine. But what you will need to do is wrap up quite warm, because temperatures are still below average for the time of year. These are the daytime highs that we're looking at. So across northern parts, we could see highs of maybe 4 to 6 degrees Celsius at this time of year. It should be more like 9 or 10 across the north. But for the south, even, it is going to be quite fresh as well. But here, we could see highs of 10 or 11 degrees Celsius. Looking further ahead, it does start to turn milder, only temporarily for the end of the week into the weekend. But we are going to see more rain and showers pushing in, particularly on Saturday. For the weather in detail where you are, go to itv.com/weather.
Well, good morning, Britain, from Times Square in New York, as Donald Trump is set to become America's next president.
Such a dramatic night. The Republican candidate is taking the lead in one of the closest election battles of modern times.
All morning, we're live across America with now jubilant Trump supporters and equally despondent Clinton campaigners.
Jonathan Swain has the story of the morning.
Trump supporters chanting USA, and soon it could be their man who's running the country. It may not be the result that some in the rest of the world wanted, but it looks as if this ridiculed underdog could soon become the most powerful man in the world. It was a nervous night across America. All walks of life were glued to the results. But for Clinton supporters, it soon became a very glum night. It seems that Clinton is resigned to defeat, just tweeting this, thanking her supporters for their hard work. The White House, though, looked serene as the rush of results came in. The next occupant of this building needed to win the key swing states, and Ohio was the first to declare.
Donald Trump will take Ohio.
Supporters in Trump Tower knew the path to the presidency was becoming possible. The important state of Florida was too close to call for much of the night, but with just a few votes in it, it was finally awarded to Donald Trump. The prospect of a Trump win is already being severely felt across the world. Markets are down across Asia, and London is expected to follow suit this morning. Months ago, a win for him was never expected, but this has been a year for political turmoil.
This is bigger than Brexit. This is the most powerful man in the world. And he's about to change around the direction of America, and he'll do so with a Senate and a House of Reps on his side.
Mr. Trump is a candidate who's offended many along the way. Some communities now fear the fallout if he wins.
This man reflects every bad value that any human being can have, and it's just going to be hard to explain to our young people how this even happened.
This has been a bitter campaign, so Trump's first task will now be to unite these divided states of America. Jonathan Swain, Good Morning Britain.
Well, we're joined now by Hillary Clinton supporter John Fugelsang and Trump supporter and author of In Trump We Trust, Ann Coulter, and Jerry Springer still with us. Ann Coulter.
Look at the smile on your face.
Well, you were with
Ann.
us. You were with us yesterday. You predicted this. It looks like it is happening. The Trump earthquake has gone down. Let me ask you, first of all, your reaction to what's happened tonight. Secondly, what kind of president would Trump be? Now it looks like he may have got there.
Well, first, the reaction is it is perfectly predictable. This has been happening all over the world, including in your country. It's happened in this country. For 10 years now, both political parties have tried to push through an amnesty. And both times, it wasn't one political party fighting another. It was the American people getting wind of it and shutting down the congressional switchboards. Apparently, humans around the globe like to have countries and like to live in their countries. So I think it was predictable. That's why lots of us did predict it.
But do you think it was more about jobs and Trump saying, look, I'm going to bring the jobs back to America, to working class guys again? Was it about immigration? Was it about Islamic terrorism? Or was it all of it?
It's all part of the same thing, which is globalism versus nationality. I mean, part of the trade deals are very important. We've lost the number of manufacturing jobs have been halved in the last 20 years. People don't know in this beautiful city, they don't know in San Francisco or Washington or LA, but go out to America and people who used to have great jobs and their kids could look forward to futures better than theirs. Now it's good for Wall Street because they get to arrange the international deals, but it's terrible for the people who work here and dumping millions of low-wage workers on the country. Look at how awful it's been for the African-American community in this country. That's one way Trump is going to change the country.
You've been personally reviled.
Yes, I have.
For decades, actually, and much of it thoroughly deserved. However, you have stuck your neck firmly to the Trump mast, and it looks like it's coming in tonight. How do you feel as a Trump supporter who's been, put through the mincer for the last 18 months, if it looks like he's now going to win?
Well, I'm ecstatic, though. I must say I wouldn't have particularly cared personally for me. I care for my country. I like Trump. I love America. I love my fellow Americans. And they've been suffering and been ignored for a long time. I was watching some of the networks, which is totally fun tonight, by the way. And they're all saying, especially the people in my ex-Republican party, saying, well, I'll admit it. Steve Schmidt, who ran McCain's campaign, Stuart Stevens is totally missing from Twitter. But, we got it wrong. We all got it wrong. No, this wasn't getting one prediction wrong. You got McCain wrong. You got Romney wrong. You've gotten everything wrong.
Well, they got middle America wrong.
Yes.
They didn't understand what people outside... It's interesting. New York and California both voted for Hillary in quite big numbers. It's what happened between the East and West Coast.
Oh, yes.
I've been traveling around Texas, Florida, places like that, and the Trump train has been steaming all year.
No, you have a better feeling for America than 90% of the people talking on American
TV. Let's go to John. John, you're a comedian. This is like manna from heaven, right?
Yeah,
I mean, he's going to be the
yeah.
greatest comedic tool ever.
Honestly, I have a 4-year-old, and Donald Trump paid for my kid's private preschool this year. So I'm also in the tax bracket that will benefit the most from a Trump presidency with the tax cuts he's promised the fortunate among us. So, I'm going to have a lot of material. I don't have to retire.
Amid
2
the
hours of Trump
laughs,
stuff.
are you scared about your country, as some people are, about the potential President Trump?
Well, let me tell you, ultimately I do believe in the fundamental decency of the American people. And with respect to Ann, a lot of very hardworking, desperate people have been conned. Donald Trump is a man who was born on the top rung of the economic ladder, who has convinced terrified Americans struggling to remain in the middle rungs that their problems spring from the undocumented workers at the very bottom of the economic ladder. Illegal immigration is at a net zero increase in this country. More Mexicans are leaving the country than coming here. It was Ronald Reagan who who gave amnesty. Barack Obama has had more deportations in history, but it's an effective boogeyman. The Mexicans are going to come on and take your jobs. The reality is Donald Trump outsourced the manufacturing of his own apparel line overseas. He's got a few credibility problems on the issue, but he's sold it.
One of the issues we were just talking about a couple of minutes ago was whether he'll deliver, if he becomes president, whether he'll deliver on his promises, because his promises were very clear, very straightforward. That's what people liked about him. Very easy to understand. And is he going to build a wall, for instance?
Of course he's going to build a wall.
We just had a Republican up here who
Excuse me,
said he
that
isn't gonna
question
do
was
it.
to me.
Okay, we have breaking news. Let me just jump in. Washington Post, AP and others. Donald Trump looks like he's won the battleground state of Pennsylvania. Now that is hugely significant.
Is that
You think that's over?
20 electoral college votes?
If Trump wins Pennsylvania, yes.
And Jerry, did you ever imagine in your wildest nightmares that tonight Donald Trump could win a state like Pennsylvania?
No, I didn't, and I was wrong.
I did last night with you. That was one of my states.
Here's the thing. If whoever was going to win, half the country is opposed to that person, and a little more than half the country is for it. So Trump won, but, you know, a million votes or not even, whatever
okay,
it is
but
the
you
other
can
way.
say that about Obama.
Exactly. Exactly. What I'm saying is our country is absolutely divided. And unless we get healing, we're in trouble.
What does it say,
and the
Jerry?
healing
Jerry,
isn't gonna happen.
What does it say about Barack Obama that he campaigned so ferociously for Hillary Clinton that she embraced many of his policies, including Obamacare and others? In other words, this was going to be more of the same. What does it say about Obama's legacy? That this looks to me like not just a rejection of Hillary Clinton, but also a repudiation of Obama.
It is, first of all, if Obama was on the ballot, he would have won. He had a 54% approval rating, and
and he's about to look like Socrates.
In American history, it is very, very, very rare that you ever get 3 terms of the same administration, of the same party in power. So, you know, history was working against that happening. But Hillary wasn't a great candidate. Got it. Understood from day one.
And if
she's not charismatic. I still think she would have been a great president.
In my lifetime, Democrats have only won the White House when Republicans have screwed up. Jimmy Carter got in because of Nixon. Bill Clinton got in because the trickle down of Reagan and Bush finally collapsed. We all know who Obama followed. So this would have been very historic because we've never seen a Democrat follow a Democrat before.
Okay. We are within sight of a confirmed win, I think, for Donald Trump in the White House.
Pennsylvania is a huge development.
That's
happened
20
in the
electoral
last couple of minutes. A huge win. And it plays into this sense that Trump, what he did, he was speaking to one section of American society, white working class men, who he felt had been disenfranchised, were feeling helpless, ignored, neglected. And Pennsylvania is full of guys like that who've lost their jobs, who've seen a lot of their jobs going abroad, going to technology, great manufacturing areas demolished and replaced by computers. And Trump has been talking to these people.
Yeah, although I think, Anne, you would agree, you couldn't just win it on that constituency.
Correct. We've been hearing that all year, and he did get people who haven't voted for 20 years. That's what you're talking about, people who haven't voted at all to vote.
You're
but
right.
in fact, Nate Silver at 538 reported today, and who knows, we still have to see all the numbers, but he said that reports that Trump got 12% of the black vote, which is astonishing for a Republican, and got 2 or 3 points more of the Hispanic vote than Mitt Romney did.
Okay, we have to cut you off because we've got,
as expected by me.
We've got Penny Marshall. Sorry, we'll come back to you, Anne, don't worry.
Yeah.
There's plenty of time for you today.
You're going to be
Wallowing
interested in this because this is Donald Trump's
these
party.
These are people even happier than you right now, which is the Trump HQ, which is only a few hundred yards away from where we are. Penny Marshall is there for us. Penny, a very, very different atmosphere, I would imagine, at the Trump HQ to the kind of mausoleum scenes we saw at the Clinton camp. What is it like down there?
It'd be great at funerals.
An incredible atmosphere here, actually, and mostly now it's one of impatience. It's been going on for 7 hours, this party. It started not as a party, but as a sort of waiting room. But about 2 hours ago, they really felt that this presidency was in their grasp, and now they're waiting for Michigan, Pennsylvania, New Hampshire to seal the deal. I think Donald Trump, who's just round the corner actually in his HQ, is also impatient. He wants to come here You can see what sort of atmosphere it is. It's set up with a very presidential in waiting looking stage, and we're waiting for Donald Trump to arrive. But he hasn't sealed the deal yet. We still need those results to confirm it.
Okay, Penny, I suppose the real question now for most people is if it's going to be President Donald Trump, is there a feeling among his supporters that he can somehow pivot from this very controversial, outspoken, often outrageous candidate into a more measured, calm, collected President Trump, actually the kind of person that we have seen in the last 10 days?
Yes, I think there are different constituents who support Donald Trump. Some of them don't care about his outrageous remarks. They loathe Hillary Clinton so much, one of them said to me, she has to hold a focus group just to decide whether to smile, that for them, he is a hard-working bloke who understands them. For other people, I think that they do think that he can morph into a more reasonable leader, and that partly he's been a bit pantomime on the trail. But there's a large constituency of people in this country who find him abhorrent and who are angry actually about the foreign press making this parallel with Brexit all the time, because that was about leaving a country. This is about electing a man who doesn't believe in a lot of things that his opponents say America stands for.
Let's, Penny, thank you. That's Penny at Trump headquarters, as Piers says, not very far away from where we're sitting this morning.
And important just to say to people, this isn't over yet. So Trump is edging ever closer. What is extraordinary as we sit here is that I don't think most people in the world imagined we'd even be in this position. Yeah. It looks highly likely that he will get enough of these votes. He'll get to the 270 magic number.
Exactly. And you can see in the corner of our screen, he's currently at 244. The Associated Press news agency says that Pennsylvania has gone to Trump, and that would add another 20 electoral college votes to that tally, which would make it 264, of course, which is a lot closer to 270 than Hillary Clinton, who's currently languishing on 215. Now, Florida has 29 electoral college votes, and that was one of the key swing states overnight. And then when that was called for Donald Trump, it kind of felt like a pivotal moment.
Well, it was huge. I mean, I was down in Florida all last week, and I could feel it. I was down in the south, I went to the north, I went to the west, and I could feel this surging support for Trump that simply wasn't being picked up in the polls. We've got Richard Gaisford, who's live in Miami. I was in Miami for a couple of days. Richard, what is the reaction there? Because it seemed from early voting that a lot of Latinos may have come out and voted far more than in the last election. And the feeling was that would help Hillary Clinton. And yet, actually, Trump has won Florida in the end by a reasonable margin.
Yes, and it had been neck and neck all the way through in the polls. Of course, this was the key, crucial battleground because it delivered those 29 electoral college votes. And you're right, there was a spike in the Hispanic and Latin American vote peers. They came out in much larger numbers than they had 4 years ago. And it had been thought that they were all going to be voting for Hillary Clinton because of Donald Trump's views on immigrations and his views on Mexicans in particular. But it would seem either that wasn't enough to help Hillary Clinton, or a number of people, and perhaps up to 30% of that community, was actually voting for Donald Trump, and that was giving him a high level of support. Take a look at these pictures and you can see the reaction amongst Trump supporters when it became clear that Florida had gone his way. It wasn't a done deal by any means. Up until the very moment that announcement was made, it was always too close to call. And I've been speaking to people here in South Beach about their views. Mostly people are welcoming of President Trump, as it may well be, as it looks like it's going to be, but some are still very cautious.
You know, I'm happy. I mean, you know, it's a lot going on, man. It's a change. You know, a lot of things gonna go, you know, right and bad, but, you know, it happened for a reason. Donald Trump win, hey, congrats.
Very happy about it. I think America needed a change, for sure.
I mean, I'm just worried we're gonna go to war. Other than that, I mean, it's not gonna affect my life, whether I'm rich or poor, that's up to me.
We're a resilient country. We can get through anything. So the next 4 years is just going to be a test to show. what we're made of.
Well, Piers, you talk about being here on holiday. 1.7 million Brits come to Florida every year to enjoy a bit of sunshine in the Sunshine State. If we think about our population, just under 5% are Muslim. That's about 80,000 people that could be coming and going from Florida each year. What is going to happen to them is a big question come January the 20th when Donald Trump, if he is actually announced as president, sits in the office there and decides that the key plank of his policy that all Muslims should be banned from entering the United States, whether he puts that in place. What would happen to British tourists coming and going from this country?
Richard, thank you. Richard Gaseford reporting from Florida for us. Well, Anne Coulter is still with us. Anne, how many of these promises will he deliver on? We touched on the wall. You're convinced that that's going to go up, paid for by Mexico. What about the temporary ban on Muslims entering the country?
Well, he had already, look, a lot of these things, as my friend Peter Thiel said, the media takes Trump not seriously, but they do take him literally, whereas normal people take him seriously but don't take every sentence literally. They refuse to understand Trump when he's making broad statements or using figures of speech. Yes, he said there would be a ban on Muslims coming into the country, but then, of course, when he talked about it in policy papers and refined it, no, he just said we're going to have extreme vetting for immigrants from countries that have produced terrorists in our country. And yes, that will go into effect. And incidentally, one of the things that was little noted about Donald Trump, he's smarter than people think. Most of the policies he was proposing, including the wall and including the Muslim ban, do not require one iota of congressional approval. It is 100% within the power of the commander-in-chief. He's the commander-in-chief. He has to protect the borders. He builds a wall. The military has done that in the past. It is the president's ability to negotiate trade deals, to determine who gets in, rules for who gets in, and how we deport people. The one thing he'll need Congress's help on is repealing anchor babies. They'll have to pass a law.
OK. Jerry, some quite interesting stats coming in here. We're looking at some live pictures, I think, now of the White House, which, of course, if Donald Trump is the next president, this will be his next home. Well, these are pictures taken, I think, a few minutes ago outside the White House. These are Trump supporters outside the White House. Extraordinary scenes there.
Is that a step down in terms of his real estate?
Yeah, a billionaire.
It'll be the smallest house Donald Trump's ever had.
Yeah.
But
poor guy, how's he going to? Yeah.
I think we should save that kind of chat until we know if he's definitely won. But it's looking that way. Interesting stats, though, coming through in a lot of these swing state results, which have gone for Trump, that he's doing very well with white women. He's up on Romney with African Americans and Latinos. So all the trigger points that people assumed would be massive negatives for Trump aren't necessarily coming through in the polling. What does that tell you, Jerry?
Well, it tells me not everyone takes particular words in the same way. But clearly, there have to be an awful lot of people, and as I say, it's like almost half the country, people that are a little bit frightened and a little about the things that he said and afraid that it would become policy. It's not realistic to believe that there aren't a lot of Hispanic people in this country that are suddenly worried about how they're going to be treated.
But isn't Trump really,
we
Jerry,
don't feel it because we're going home to our nice homes.
No,
here.
but Jerry,
we're not part of the minorities that feel it.
I hear you. Let me throw something back at you. I always looked at Trump through the prism of him being a business guy, right? This is a guy who wrote a book called The Art of the Deal. And I've always felt his whole game plan has been to close two deals, the Republican nomination and then the presidency. Two different animals, by the way. He has been far more moderate in his comments, for example, about Muslims and other things since he became the candidate against Hillary Clinton than he was as a Republican candidate. Now, that is brutal, harsh, tough, and often obnoxious politics. But it was undeniably successful. And it also makes me think if he is president, he can take it another step to the middle and actually go back to the guy he was before all this, which was actually a very reasonable, moderate Republican.
Yeah, but that's what's interesting. But that's what's interesting here. Because what you're saying is what people like me hope is the truth. But you're saying, no, He means exactly what he said.
Well, no, I think on things
He's
like the
right.
wall he'll deliver, but I don't think he's a political ideologue. I don't think he's somebody who takes positions and then that's it for 25 years. Trump, to me, is a negotiator. Everything's a negotiation.
I think he's more like an emotional Leonard Zelig, and he really means what he says at the moment he's saying it.
Right.
In the case of the wall, it's fantastic. He's going to build a giant wall across thousands of miles of desert, forest, river, private and commercial property, so the people of Mexico don't have to see our crumbling roads and bridges. The Muslim ban, aside from being bigoted, was stupid because one's religion doesn't show up on your passport, so there was no way to do it in the first place. And let's just say he is never going to deport 11 million undocumented
No, he's not.
people.
He's not. But
No.
on the question of the Muslim ban, for example, which I thought was outrageous and disgusting, Trump has now revised this and now says what he wants is very tough new immigration standards to apply from anybody coming in from war-torn countries like Syria and Iraq. Now, if he said that to start with, it wouldn't have caused even a ripple,
I think
would it?
you're right, and I think Donald Trump supporters should better get very used really quick to Donald Trump revising the promises he's made.
But is that a bad thing? Or is that a good thing?
It's bad for his base, and the reality we also have to take into consideration is if you believe Governor John Kasich's office when they offered him VP, Mike Pence, the most anti-gay governor in our country, is essentially going to be running the government, if you believe Governor John Kasich.
But Trump himself is not anti-gay.
Trump is not anti-gay, but he did pick a governor who actually made discrimination against
Pence is
LGBT
homophobic,
legal,
I agree.
because if people want to believe Christ hates the same people they hate.
We are going to cross over to Ohio because our correspondent Martin Geisner is there. It is a key state, isn't it, sort of politically, iconically, Martin?
Absolutely. We're in the Republican headquarters in Youngstown, Ohio, in Mahoning County, and this place erupted about 5 or 10 minutes ago when that Pennsylvania declaration or that Pennsylvania call came in. We've been here for about 8 hours with these people. They've been watching patiently all night, not daring to believe what was going to happen. Most of these people have been campaigning for months for Donald Trump. They've been desperate for this moment. And if people back home find it difficult to understand because of all the headlines we've heard about Trump's campaign, why anybody would support this man, let me tell you a bit about the background of this town, of Youngstown, Ohio. It is a steel town. It found steel ore here for the first time in the early 1800s. It built foundries, it built mills. And through the last century, through the 20th century, the first part of it at least, it was booming. This place really felt the good times. It loved the good times. The 40s, the 50s, the 60s. It built the steel that America was built on. But then cheap imports came in through the 70s. The industry felt the pinch. The mills collapsed. The jobs went. The economy suffered. And not much is coming in its place. So the people here felt frustrated, they felt forgotten, and they felt angry. And they felt that same anger that has spread right through blue-collar America. And over the last few months, Donald Trump's promises to make America great again, perhaps not substantial promises, but loud and simple promises that these people latched onto and understood, because they thought at last somebody is sticking up for the little guy, somebody cares about them. And his campaign has played enormously well here. This was a strongly Democratic county for as long as anyone can remember. But it has turned massively here in support of Donald Trump. You were talking about the wall, you were talking about his promises earlier on. He's going to have to come good in a lot of those promises because people here are relying on him. He's made big calls about bringing steel, bringing coal, bringing jobs, bringing traditional industry back to this part of America, Rust Belt America, and they're relying on him to deliver on that. It's all been about what if up until now. Now it's about what's next, and Donald Trump is going to have to step up and meet some of those promises. But one young man, it's a mainly older demographic here, very white demographic, very blue collar, mainly older, but one young guy I spoke to earlier tonight, a chap called Alex, told me, I said to him, people won't understand why you voted, and he said, it's all right for you guys, you've got comfortable jobs, you've got comfortable lives, you don't like change, you don't want change because everything's good for you. When you don't have much, then change isn't really a gamble. He says he sees this as a high-risk, high-reward gamble. The status quo wasn't working for a lot of people in this town. And change, well, they might as well give it a try. They really bought into a lot of what Donald Trump says. Have a look here. They've made their own wall. They've used it to raise funds for the Trump campaign. They were selling bricks. They were buying into the whole lot. So, well, they got their wish. And like all of America and all of the world, they're just going to have to wait and watch and see what comes next. Seems we're about to enter the first term of a Trump presidency. Everybody here is waiting and watching to see what happens.
What might that be like? Martin Geisler reporting from Ohio. Just an update on what Hillary Clinton is doing this morning. It's just coming up to 2 o'clock in the morning here in New York, and we were expecting Hillary Clinton to head to her campaign headquarters where she would, presumably address supporters. But we understand this morning she is staying in her hotel, does not have plans to go to that gathering. Instead, her campaign manager will
Well, you've got to
address
say that
supporters.
looks to me very ominous if you're a Hillary Clinton fan, that she basically is preparing, I would imagine, to concede the race.
Sure.
Just before we go to Alex with the weather, it's actually quite mild here in New York, isn't it? Huh?
Yes.
Yeah. It's a good thing climate change is a hoax, huh? November 8th, kids.
Yeah.
Let's go to Alex with the weather back in London. Alex.
Hello, good morning. Yes, it is a chillier start to the day here, certainly. It's been, again, quite cold overnight, and as we go through today, you will need to wrap up warm. We've also seen a fair amount of snow falling over the tops of the hills, but what you would have noticed is this band of rain, which has been really pushing its way eastwards as we've gone through the last few hours, and that will continue to make its way towards the North Sea coast as we go through the next few hours. The hill snow also clearing away. There will be some showers around as well. You can see this on the latest satellite and radar picture, those showers starting to push in out towards the west there. Out towards the east, we'll continue to see this band of rain pushing away. Still a bit sleety over the tops of the hills. Down the central spine of the country, it will be rather dry, and there'll also be some bright spells of sunshine. Temperatures, though, well, they are going to be, again, disappointing and below average for the time of year. We should be looking at daytime highs of around maybe 9 or 10 degrees across the north, more like 11 or 12 further south. But you can see what we're going to be dealing with today. Chilly conditions in some places, maybe highs of 4 or 5 degrees Celsius, particularly across northern areas. Factor in the breeze and it will be feeling quite raw out there. So as I say, wrap up warm. It will get milder towards the end of the week into the weekend, but we still have rain in the forecast. Some of that rain quite heavy, particularly on Saturday. For the weather in detail where you are, go to itv.com/weather.
Good morning. Britain still too close to call, but after a dramatic night, Donald Trump looks set to become the next president of the United States.
You're watching a special edition of the programme live from here in New York, where we've witnessed extraordinary scenes overnight. Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton were neck and neck for much of the night, but now the Republican candidate, the non-politician, is surging ahead to become the 45th president of the United States.
Over the next few hours of the programme, we'll bring you the whole astonishing story and, of course, the result when it is confirmed.
We'll be live at the candidates' headquarters with Trump supporters who are all very happy and very despondent Clinton campaigners. This election result comes to a conclusion. We'll be getting reaction from across America. Ranveer is in Washington for us. Richard Gaisford in the crucial state of Florida, which Trump won tonight. It's been a night of twists and turns and excitement and drama. The bookies had Hillary Clinton 6-1 on. Now she's 1-6 against. I can't keep up with it. Does that even make sense, what I just said?
The last time.
We'll bring you the latest as it happens.
Wednesday, 9th of November, 2016. Live from Times Square, New York. This is Good Morning Britain. America Decides. With Piers Morgan and Susanna Reid.
Well, good morning, Britain. Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
Well, you said it would happen, to be fair.
I did, but no one believed me.
No.
It's just gone 7 o'clock, of course, with you in the UK. It's 2 a.m. here on a remarkably mild evening. There's no coat, you may notice.
No, I don't know
Good
why
tough
I'm all
country
wrapped
boy.
up warm.
You're a bit overdressed, I think. But it's been an extraordinary night, hasn't it?
It has been astonishing. If you're looking at the counter in the bottom of our screen, you'll see Trump has 245 electoral college votes. Hillary Clinton, 218 electoral college votes. The threshold is 270. You can see, I mean, people are saying it's too close to call. Trump's practically there.
Trump's famously small hands are beginning to move inexorably to the White House, which is an extraordinary thing. We thought perhaps, according to all the polls, that Hillary Clinton would be the first female president, but as we can now see at Clinton HQ, the campaign chairman there is talking at the Clinton camp. Let's listen to this.
She's done an amazing job, and she is not done yet. So thank you for being with her. She has always been with you. I have to say this tonight. Good night. We will be back. We'll have more to say. Let's get those votes counted, and let's bring this home. Thank you so much for all of you have done. You are in all of our hearts. Thank you.
Okay, well, that's John Podesta. He's the campaign chief for Hillary Clinton. He's also been the guy at the center of the WikiLeaks email scandal of recent weeks, because it's been his email account that WikiLeaks got into. And many people think that the email scandal erupting again when it did, the FBI getting involved with Anthony Weiner's laptop and
the Halloween
Boomer
horror
Aberdeen,
for Hillary,
that all of it came in a period when Hillary was on a roll after the sex tape with Trump. He looked dead and buried, and then it gave him a chance to get back in the race, to beat his chest and move on to Hillary and emails
despite
again.
the fact that James Comey, the head of the FBI, just a couple of days before the vote said, actually, don't worry, we're not going to do anything about it.
Damage was done by then, I think. And, you know, the FBI got a lot to answer for, according to some people. Jonathan Swain, though, has the story of this remarkable night so far. Take a look at this.
He may not be in the White House yet, but Trump supporters are celebrating outside. Nothing official, of course, but he looks set to rule from the Oval Office. It may not be the result that some in the rest of the world wanted, but it looks as if the ridiculed underdog could soon become the most powerful man in the world. It was a nervous night across America. All walks of life were glued to the results. But for Clinton supporters, it soon became a very glum night. It seems that Clinton is resigned to defeat, just tweeting this, thanking her supporters for their hard work. The White House, though, looks serene as the rush of results came in. The next occupant of this building needed to win the key swing states, and Ohio was the first to declare.
Donald Trump will take Ohio.
Supporters in Trump Tower knew the path to the presidency was becoming possible. The important state of Florida was too close to call for much of the night, but with just a few votes in it, it was finally awarded to Donald Trump. The prospect of a Trump win is already being severely felt across the world. Markets are down across Asia, and London is expected to follow suit this morning. Months ago, a win for him was never expected, but this has been a year for political turmoil.
This is bigger than Brexit. This is the most powerful man in the world, and he's about to change around the direction of America, and he'll do so with a Senate and a House of Reps on his side.
Mr. Trump is a candidate who's offended many along the way. Some communities now fear the fallout if he wins.
This man reflects every bad value that any human being can have, and it's just going to be hard to explain to our young people how this even happened.
This has been a bitter campaign. If Donald Trump becomes president, his first task will be to unite these divided states of America. Jonathan Swain, Good Morning Britain.
ITV News correspondent James Mates is at the Hillary Clinton election party headquarters. Not really the party they were planning, James.
Certainly not, and the principal guest isn't even going to turn up, we understand now. John Podesta, I don't know if you were just seeing him there, who has been the chairman of her campaign, excuse me, losing my voice slightly after a long night, has just been on stage here, says, look, it's very, very close still. He hasn't got to that magic 270 figure. A lot of races are too close to call. A lot of races have not been announced officially, but have been predicted effectively by the TV networks. That doesn't mean they're likely to be wrong. It's also likely that some states, which are very, very close, may have to be recounted. And for that reason, they say their votes are still being counted. No concessions are going to be made right now. Nothing more is going to be said today, and they've urged everyone to go home. And I don't know if you can see behind me, well, they're all drifting out obviously not a happy crowd, and it's not going to be a happy night's sleep for them. But if they were waiting to hear from their defeated, probably, heroine Hillary Clinton, not tonight, maybe sometime tomorrow.
Well, James, it's kind of symbolic that you're losing your voice, because I expect there won't be much more to say from Hillary Clinton's camp at
Well, Hillary
some
Clinton
stage.
was losing her voice and early in the week, and you know it's going to be a massive hammer blow to Hillary Clinton, to the Clintons generally. It was a kind of slight sense of entitlement, I think, that many people felt she had to be that leader. But certainly tonight, you could never have imagined, really, a few days ago, that Hillary Clinton would have been on the receiving end of what is going to, at this rate, is going to be quite a big win by Donald Trump.
I mean, technically, mathematically, she could still win this, but it would be an extraordinary late surge. Jerry Springer's here, Kristen Tate, Eric Guster, all still with us this morning. Eric, what do you make of Hillary Clinton's, at the moment it seems, total failure?
It goes back to, this is the first time I'll ever agree with Piers. She had a sense of entitlement to this office. Even from the Democratic Party, it was kind of Hillary's turn. And that was one of the problems that this election had. She was not necessarily the beloved candidate by Black Americans that so many people thought.
And there wasn't enough turnout amongst that community, was there? That there had been for Barack Obama.
She was not someone we were excited about. She was not someone we automatically got behind.
Can you explain that to us? Because I think there are many people in the UK who might have assumed this was a candidate to get excited about. Hugely experienced, breaking a glass ceiling, you know, on the coattails of a very popular Democratic president from her party.
And that was her problem. When her race against Barack Obama turned so many Black Americans against her that it was very tough for her to recover.
So that was a nail in the coffin when she stood in the primaries in 2008.
Yes,
You know one of the problems I felt? When you watched Michelle Obama campaigning for Hillary Clinton, you saw a far younger, far more dynamic, in my view, far more inspiring speaker than Hillary Clinton has ever been. And I think the juxtaposition of this firebrand, great, dynamic woman who perhaps, who knows, maybe one day Michelle Obama will run. I wouldn't.
Michelle Obama 2020.
I think she would
Call
be.
it now.
I think she could be a great female president. And it may just be that people thought, you know, the Clintons, we're kind of done with the Clintons. We're done with the Bushes. We're done with the Clintons. We want something different.
Well,
70% of Americans are unhappy with the way the country's going. Anyway, Jerry, hold your fire. Kristen, hold your fire. Our correspondent, Nick Harper, is at the Donald Trump party headquarters. Very different atmosphere, Nick, I would imagine, over there. And you're literally a few hundred yards away from us.
We can almost hear it.
I mean, both parties are going on here. Very quiet one way, very noisy where you are, Nick.
That's right, Piers. Yeah, the atmosphere has completely changed here during the course of this evening. I'm just under the ballroom where Donald Trump is expected to turn up later on, and there has been a lot of noise coming out of there throughout the course of the evening. Just a few moments ago, after that news broke from the Clinton camp that she would not be turning up tonight, not making any sort of speech because they still want to count the votes, there were chants upstairs in the ballroom of call it, urging that the whole of this race is called in the favour of Donald Trump. But throughout the course of this evening, when the supporters of Trump first turned up, there was quite a muted response. They didn't seem particularly happy overall, especially by all the opinion polls throughout the whole of the last few days, and even going into polling day, which suggested that Hillary Clinton was going to triumph. But as Donald Trump has picked up those big swing states during the course of the evening, Ohio, Florida, North Carolina, and then Pennsylvania, there have been very loud cheers from upstairs. All of it really showing that this has been an election where all bets are off. It's been a complete roller coaster, a year and 7 months. And even going into today, where we thought that Hillary Clinton was likely to have quite an easy run of it, all of that has been turned upside down, and we are potentially on the verge of Donald Trump causing a massive upset, becoming the first person, TV reality star, to take the top job in America. Of course, a man who's never held public office. All the votes still need to be counted, but he is edging ever closer to that top job and getting the keys to the White House.
Kristen Tate, listening to that, of course, huge Trump supporter. As Nick was just saying, he's never held public office. That was one of the major things, that people were voting for.
Absolutely.
It's time for a change, is what they seem to have been saying.
The majority of Americans, and this includes Democrats too, do not trust the federal government right now. They want an outsider. This election was all about turnout. The best way to predict turnout is to measure enthusiasm. And prior to tonight, only 43% of Hillary's own supporters said they were enthusiastic about her. So that's why we saw low turnout. Let's think about why Obama had such high turnout in 2008 and 2012, because he represented an authentic candidate of hope and change. Hillary Clinton is the exact opposite of that. She's
Jerry,
an entrenched bureaucrat.
I agree with this. I mean, I think that the trouble with Hillary was it was like same old, same old. She wasn't as dynamic as Obama. She's not as
there's
impressive.
no one on earth that is.
But
that
okay, well, let's
dynamic.
get closer. Let's go
That's
closer.
fair.
Let's go closer to home. She's not as dynamic or as good a politician or as charismatic as her own husband, who was president for 8 years. So Hillary, Hillary by comparison, wasn't a great candidate, was she?
I'm just speaking for me. If I'm looking for someone to have the most important political job in the world, to be leader of the United States of America, leader of the free world, whatever, I'm not looking for someone who's going to be this great charismatic television star. I supported Hillary Clinton because I honestly believe, this is God's truth, if God is holding, if I'm in a room alone with God and God says, you've got to tell the truth. There has never, ever, ever been a person as prepared to do the job for president that hasn't already been president before.
Yeah, but come on, Jerry,
and I really believe that.
Jerry.
One thing, George,
listen, she's just not charismatic.
You can be.
I'm
Wait
sorry.
a minute. You can be the most experienced person on God's earth.
Skilled.
Right? Yeah, but you can be the most experienced. But she's never been that good at anything she's done.
And Pierre,
she was
tonight,
she was an average senator. She was an average Secretary of State.
She's much more prepared than anyone else.
It depends what you mean by that.
It comes down to marketing.
I don't really buy into
marketing,
this.
Piers.
I don't really buy into this. She's done it for 10,000 years.
Trump had
Therefore,
the
she should be president.
He was a household name before he started, and then the news stations gave him free run of the mill with every hour. That's what did it.
Wait, let's all talk at once. That is because Trump, at his heart, is a brilliant marketeer. Right. He's a brilliant self-publicist. He played the media like a concert conductor. He did. And Hillary wasn't really able to compete with him in the way that he was doing it.
Hold on, the media coverage about Trump, though, was negative. 80% of the media coverage or so was negative about Trump. So he was getting media coverage. Are you kidding me? The mainstream media trashed Trump 24 hours a day.
If he had a burger joint.
Jerry.
If Trump had a burger
remove
joint and cameras were there from every news station uninterrupted, no commercial breaks, anything.
And journalists, American media loved Trump.
Yes.
Right to the moment when they suddenly woke up and realised he might actually win.
Let's talk to someone else who's a great fan
Then, like
of
Dr.
Donald
Frankenstein,
Trump.
they try to kill the monster.
Over to Las Vegas now, singer and Trump supporter and friend Wayne Newton. Now, Wayne, you've just come off stage, apparently. You must be pretty pleased.
Hi, Suzanne. How are you?
Can you hear us, Wayne? Are you pleased, Wayne, at the way the night's gone? It looks like your friend Donald Trump may be president. Are you happy with that?
I'm very, very happy about it. I'm not surprised, Pierce, because you and I know Donald very, very well. And when he sets his mind to do something, he generally does it. So I think that tonight's referendum from the American people said it all. They're sick and tired of both parties and politics as usual, and it's time to put somebody else in that place.
All right, let me ask you, Wayne. As somebody who, like me, has known Trump a long time, many people think he's a monster. They think he's the new Hitler. They think he's going to be a terrible thing for the world. He's going to be the start of Armageddon. What can you say to reassure people, people watching in Britain this morning, maybe worried,
what kind
scared
of president is he
about
be?
what's he going to be? What kind of president do you think he will be?
I think he will be, Pierce answers, and I think he will be an incredible president. He will be a president that will tell the American people the truth. which they haven't had in quite a while, as you know. And I think that the vote tonight was not unlike what happened in Great Britain with the EU, where the British people decided to take their country back. And that's what's happened tonight. The American people want their country back.
It's interesting, yeah. I mean, Jerry Springer is here, Wayne, and he's listening to what you're saying, and he's
Only on this show could you bring Jerry Springer to Wayne Newton in Vegas via New York on such a historic day.
I am a big fan, and I'm the only one here old enough to remember when he sang with Jackie Gleason, Dankeschön. Isn't that right?
My goodness. And I have to tell you, Jerry, that you're a lot better dancer today than you were then.
You win. You're right.
Well, it's great to see you, Wayne, on this historic night as it's turning out to be. We've got to repeat to viewers who are tuning in that it's been an extraordinary night. It looks like Donald Trump will be the next president, but it's not a done deal.
Nope.
He hasn't got to the 270 threshold. He's a bit shy at the moment, but he's getting pretty close. And with Pennsylvania that he won recently, when that is all added in, he's very, very close.
And this is what you have to be concerned about in England.
Yep.
What I really look, the campaign's over. If he won, he won. Let's get behind him. I hope he works. But what in England, what you have to be concerned about, what I'm concerned about is he going to back NATO? Is he going to take back what he said that we're not necessarily going to be there to support?
Yeah, but
is he
on
willing
NATO,
to stand up? He has to answer these questions.
No, but hang on. What he said was, and I thought he had a point, Trump, about this, and all right, does it in his normal abrasive way. He said, look, why is America the world's policeman paying 70% of NATO costs when we're the ones everybody rings to come and sort our dirty work out? Is it not right that every NATO member should be paying a bigger lion's share? Why should America pay 70% of it?
Well, the first of them, we pay the price of being the world superpower.
Why?
And why? Because we are the world superpower.
But why do you have to pay a penalty for that?
It's not a penalty. It's because when we have a strong Europe, when we have a Europe that has a vibrant economy, then that benefits everything that America wants. It keeps the world at peace, and also it gives us markets to sell our goods. We want a strong NATO. NATO's been good. Europe hasn't been at war with itself.
We have to move on. Susanna?
Oh.
We have to move on because during the campaign we did see the extraordinary sight of UKIP's interim leader, Nigel Farage, of course, advising Donald Trump. We've already heard and seen the comparisons to the Brexit vote. Now, Nigel Farage has called Donald Trump's success overnight a political revolution even bigger than Brexit. And over in our London studios, the Daily Mail's Andrew Pierce, the Daily Mirror's Kevin Maguire. Very good morning to you both. Did it not feel to you guys as well, you know, as we sort of saw the polls in advance saying, no, Hillary's probably going to win, you know, and really likely, and then as the results changed and they came in, you know, it feels like the USA's version of Brexit, doesn't it?
Yes, it certainly does, and I regret it, but it's happened. I wonder why so many people can be so dumb as to vote for him. I think they'll be very disappointed very quickly. But it's huge, and certainly for Britain, we're being shaken by Brexit, whatever that means, the rupture with the European Union, the continent, and now our relationship across the Atlantic is going to be under huge strain because you will have to go a long way in Britain to find a politician, including in the Conservative Party, who's looking forward to President Trump. I think Nigel Farage is a lone voice. Perhaps he's been promised the ambassador's job in London.
Do you know, Kevin Maguire is one of those funny old things. He just can't bear it when the people speak. The people of America appear to have chosen Donald Trump, and he can't bear it. You know, let him get on with it.
Hey, look, sometimes democracy sucks. You've got to accept the result, but it doesn't mean you like the result. And Donald Trump, he's conned his way into the White House. That's what he's done. He lied and lied and lied. The racism has been stinking. His attitude to women is appalling. He's going to go in there with a whole load of women complaining they were groped by him. I mean, this is not a good start for a presidency.
He can't get over it, can he? And there's a message here, too, for those people like Maguire and these unelected peers and these judges who want to block Brexit. Block Brexit in this country at your peril, because it'll be the same thing with Trump. It is a Brexit vote in America, just like we had here. And I, for one, am not surprised that he's won.
Yeah, and the Americans are seeing the dollar fall just as the pound fell after Brexit. I don't know what will happen to the rest of their economy.
It's called democracy, Kevin.
The idea this silver spoon billionaire is somehow representing the interest of working people is an utter joke. He will gift huge tax rises to his country club chums, while at the same time he will undermine the minimum wage.
I'll have a little look. Have a look over there. OK, I don't think you can really hear us over there, chat. So we're going to just have a look at live shots here. This is the Trump campaign headquarters. Very happy people down there. Donald Trump now.
They look like they're organising something, don't they? Like
well, they're organising
kind
the
of
mother
entry.
of all parties. Above us, by the way, it's like I don't know what's going on. But there's helicopters buzzing, there's sirens going off. Times Square is erupting. But there they all are, the Trump crowd. It looks like to me like they're waiting for some kind of arrival, perhaps from Donald Trump himself. More helicopters above our heads. It really is quite exciting here in New York tonight. I don't know if you can see the helicopters.
He is 22 electoral college votes away from the threshold, but there are obviously, there's still an opportunity for Hillary Clinton to win.
I think she has two hopes of winning now: Bob Hope and no hope.
She apparently is staying in her hotel, and we heard her campaign manager John Podesta at the Democrats' headquarters party here in New York, or her campaign headquarters here in New York.
Let me ask you, Jerry Springer. Are we going to see Hillary Clinton again in public life, or is that it? She's nearly 70 years old. She's had 2 runs at being president. She's lost both times, it would now appear. This time to Donald Trump, who's not even a politician. Can she realistically, do you think, have another go?
My guess is that she wouldn't want to, that she'll find something else that she wants to do. You know, it's very easy to beat up on the person that just loses. This election is obviously very close, by virtue of the fact that here we are at this ridiculous hour in the morning,
and
we still don't know who won.
Yeah.
So it's obviously a close election. And she has had an incredibly accomplished life. What's going on? There
I'm
she
just
is.
looking at pictures of Hillary Clinton now.
OK. No, that's previous pictures. Yeah. Hillary is apparently ensconced
in her hotel.
In her hotel room, doesn't want to go down there yet. It may be she's preparing to concede. It may be she's preparing to call Donald Trump. Maybe she is calling Donald Trump.
Normally what happens is you wait to see that the votes are in, and then when it's clear that you lost, the first thing you do is you call your opponent and congratulate, and then you go downstairs and speak to the crowd, and that's when you say, I've just spoken to Donald Trump and wish him the best of luck and anything that we can do to bring our country together.
Kristen,
that's traditionally
let's bring
what's
Kristen in here. Donald Trump and women was a very contentious part of his campaign. Many women around the world disgusted by some of the stuff that came out in terms of secret tapes and so on and so on. You're a woman who supported Trump. What do you feel he has to do now to persuade the women, not just of America, but of the world, that he's not such a monster and he can be a different kind of guy?
Well, first of all, I think during this entire campaign, the media had this obsession with deflecting the attention of the American people off of the issues and onto marginal issues of rhetoric. You know, women are just like men voters in the sense that they care about the issues. We care about government spending, keeping our families safe, immigration. We care about those things, a lot of us do anyways, more than something Donald Trump said 10 years ago in private. This was an election about the issues. The American people made it clear they care about those issues more than these, personal scandals.
Well, is it a case of actually it turned out, looking at some of the voting patterns where a lot of women have come out and voted for Trump, that actually America's women didn't care that much? They cared more about issues like the economy, like immigration, like Islamic terrorism, all the hot button stuff that Trump hit harder, actually in the end resonated more with them than how he treated women.
And that's what made him the perfect marketer. You market to your people exactly what they want to hear. Just like the McDonald's is the largest burger franchise in the world. They don't necessarily have the best burgers, they have the best marketing. And that's what Trump did. He tapped in to those several key things: jobs, terrorism, safety, family, those types of things that people want to hear. Not necessarily that he can deliver all those things, but those were the very simple marketing tools that he used to get his votes. And he
Was it a mistake of Hillary Clinton to, in the last week in particular, bring in all the big pop stars, the Rihannas, the Beyoncés, the Katy Perrys, the Madonna. Madonna was wailing down here somewhere last night, all wailing for Hillary. There could be wailing. Tell you what, there'd be a wail on tonight. But was it a mistake? Maybe ask you, Jerry. Was it a mistake when you're up against a guy who's appealing to the working class populace of America? Right? Was it a mistake to come and parade on stage with a bunch of multi-millionaire pop stars?
No. I mean, there are a lot of reasons you'll be able, when the election is this close, you can pick on any one thing and say, if you didn't do that, you might have gotten more votes. But the fact of the matter is, when you're bringing in Bruce Springsteen, who is like the godfather of the working class kind of thing, it isn't like she brought people that have no relation to the voters she was trying to attract. I think what we saw in this election is almost from day one, there were very, very, very few undecided voters. The country is split 50-50. So this whole election was about, can I bring out more of my voters than you can bring out more of your voters? That's what this, so each candidate was going to the base. Each candidate, and we saw that.
I think the bottom line here is that this was an election about not necessarily Democrats versus Republicans. This was about the establishment versus outsiders. That's what this was really about.
You see, that's so interesting, isn't it? Because what we have seen is the politicians, you know, the political class, the people with experience, just out of touch.
Yeah, and the GOP elites, we can thank them for Trump. You know why? Because the conservative grassroots people in this country, they are fed up with those GOP wonks in Washington who have got nothing to push back against.
Here's something we never talk about. Every one of those congressmen, those Republican elite congressmen, got reelected. So this business that we don't want Washington reelected all the
Let me raise this, Jerry,
elites.
because Donald Trump is going to have, if he's president, as seems likely, I mean, again, we repeat, Donald Trump is heading towards being the next president tonight.
Don't forget Bush. Don't forget the Florida election.
Gore.
No, sure. Listen, it could still be a long-running thing. This,
it could be next week before we know.
It could.
Can I come back tomorrow if Hillary wins?
I thought that if Donald Trump wins, you're getting on the plane with us to leave. That's what you said.
So are a bunch of other people, by the way.
Against Donald Trump.
Amy Schumer, a bunch of people are also leaving.
I just don't want him to be president.
Okay, let's regroup. Just to regroup for those who are tuning in, extraordinary developments overnight in the American presidential race. Hillary Clinton began the evening as a red-hot favorite, 6-1 on with the bookies. And now she is fighting for her life as a politician because Donald Trump has surged in the lead. He's now just a few electoral college votes away from becoming the 45th president of the United States. Truly historic times. Here is Jonathan Swain with the story of the night so far.
If you're in any doubt about how this result is heading, just look at this. Trump supporters are celebrating outside the White House this morning, expecting their man to soon be in the Oval Office. Clinton supporters, though, are walking out of their headquarters after being told this.
We can wait a little longer, can't we? They're still counting votes, and every vote should count.
It may not be the result that some in the rest of the world wanted, but it looks as if the ridiculed underdog could soon become the most powerful man in the world. It was a nervous night across America. All walks of life were glued to the results. But for Clinton supporters, it soon became a very glum night. It seems that Clinton is resigned to defeat, just tweeting this, thanking her supporters for their hard work. The White House, though, looked serene as the rush of results came in. The next occupant of this building needed to win the key swing states, and Ohio was the first to declare.
Donald Trump will take Ohio.
Supporters in Trump Tower knew the path to the presidency was becoming possible. The important state of Florida was too close to call for much of the night, but with just a few votes in it, it was finally awarded to Donald Trump. The prospect of a Trump win is already being severely felt across the world.
Okay, we are breaking in with some incredibly important breaking news. The Associated Press has just reported it's official. Donald Trump is elected the President of the United States of America. He is the 45th President of the United States, and this is a seismic political earthquake that will have reverberations around the world tonight. So to confirm, Donald Trump, according to the Associated Press, is the new president of the United States. Wow.
248 officially the Electoral College votes that he has reached so far, 270 the threshold. So a couple of states still to declare, which could, you know, obviously go either way. But the point is that on projections, the Associated Press news agency has decided to call the election
Others
for
are now
Donald Trump.
Others are now following suit, and of course Trump is literally a few hundred yards away from where we are. He's in New York. He is a New Yorker. And you can only imagine,
Bloomberg now have called it for Donald Trump.
what Donald Trump is feeling at this moment. It is 2:34 a.m. here in New York. Donald Trump, to repeat, is the new president of the United States. Let's go back to London. Charlotte Hawkins there has some breaking news closer to home for us. Charlotte.
Yeah, I know all eyes of the world are elsewhere at the moment, but here in the UK, we've got some breaking news that 5 people are trapped and 40 people have been injured. It's after a tram overturned in a tunnel in Croydon in South London. We're hearing this from the London Fire Brigade this morning. They say that this incident involved a 2-car tram which overturned in a tunnel. 5 people confirmed trapped, 40 injured. The London Ambulance Service say they are also there in attendance. Multiple resources from them are on the way. Police have confirmed this as well, and they say that they are there. It happened just after 6:10 this morning, and police are asking people to avoid the area as they deal with this incident. So the breaking news there in Croydon that a tram has overturned, 5 people currently trapped, 40 more are injured. We'll keep an eye on that situation, and it is ongoing at the moment. Bring you any more developments as we get them. Back to you both in Times Square.
Charlotte, thank you. So just to recap, that the Associated Press, one of the major news agencies, has called the election for Donald Trump, saying that Donald Trump is the president-elect of the United States of America. It's probably not the result you thought was going to happen this morning when you went to bed yesterday evening. In fact, all the pollsters suggested that it was very likely that Hillary Clinton would be America's first female president. But this morning at just after, what time is it?
2:35.
2:35. The Associated Press and Bloomberg as well, another of the news agencies, calling it for Donald Trump.
We're looking at live. It is extraordinary.
Political revolution, really,
well, it's
isn't
probably
it?
the most sensational political earthquake that I can remember, certainly in my lifetime, probably anybody's lifetime. Donald Trump, of course, until 18 months ago, was a businessman. He was a television reality star of his show The Apprentice. And now, after an extraordinary campaign that's been very divisive and controversial, outrageous, but has clearly resonated with tens of millions of Americans, Donald Trump has pulled off the PR coup of his life. And Mr. Trump, if you're listening, we congratulate you. It's a remarkable achievement. You are the 45th President of the United States of America, and it will be a moment in history, this, where a non-politician, this is the first time in American history where the president has not been somebody who's previously been a political figure holding political office or been a member of the military. And in that sense, Trump is a unique person to have taken over the White House. He won't become, of course, president officially until the inauguration in the middle of January. That is when it all happens officially. But right now, let's get a reaction. Ann Coulter, big Trump supporter, taking a lot of flack for being a Trump supporter. What is your reaction to the confirmation right now, 2:35 a.m. here in New York, that your man, Donald Trump, is the new president of your country?
It took you a while to call it. I knew 3 hours ago. It is just a complete rejection of the ruling class and most of the cliches that I've heard here tonight. It isn't change. It's a rejection of both the Republicans and the Democrats. They've been ignoring the American public, and I think a lot of countries have seen this for too long. And I mean, the fact that Bernie Sanders almost beat Hillary Clinton, we almost had two. Basically, I mean, Bernie Sanders is a senator, but he's a socialist from Vermont. He's an old hippie, an independent, not a Republican or a Democrat. He almost beat Hillary Clinton.
Okay, let me ask Jerry. Jerry, let me ask you. Your face is the face of every Democrat in this country. It's probably the face of many people in our country, back in England, right, who can't believe what they're hearing. I've known Trump a long time. I predicted for a long time that this could happen because I thought he's the kind of guy you just don't bet against. And I thought he would represent the kind of thing we saw with Brexit in our country, where people just didn't get what people out there were really thinking. What happens now? Because Trump is president, Hillary's lost, he's now going to the White House. You're baffled, enraged, upset, whatever it may be, as are millions of other Americans. What can Trump do to try and persuade you now that he's a unifier and not a destroyer?
Well, just personally, I will do everything I can to see that he becomes a successful president. I want him to be successful. Whatever influence people like me have will be for him to tone down some of what I consider bigoted comments. You know, if we can get him off that message and just go to the message of he listened to the people that feel they're not being listened to. He's fine on that. I could support him on that.
I think you'll be surprised.
I hope so. I want him to be successful. I love this country.
That is what got him to the White House.
Well, and that's interesting because, you know, if we're going to compare this to the Brexit vote, the morning after people voted to Brexit, already there seemed to be a sort of reining back on some of the promises that they felt that they had voted for. It is all very well if Donald Trump has got to the White House on the basis of some pretty clear, bold promises. But once he's there, will he be frustrated either by the fact that government is really quite complex and, you know, he's got to get all this through? Is he going to be able to deliver? And if he can't, what do these people do then?
No, he will deliver on the main part of his program. And I'm sure, by the way, I will spend the next 8 years denouncing him and criticizing him for this or that thing. But he is going to build the wall, and he will renegotiate trade deals and bring them back. And, you know, just one quick point, a big problem in this country for a while, but especially the last couple of years, has been...
Okay, just need to break in. We have more breaking news. Following the report, which is now confirmed that Donald Trump is the new president of the United States of America, Hillary Clinton, the Democratic candidate who has lost, we can now confirm NBC News is reporting that Hillary Clinton has telephoned Donald Trump to offer her congratulations and to concede. So this is now official. Donald Trump is the new president of the United States. Hillary Clinton has congratulated him and she has conceded. It's over. This election has been decided and it is a thumping win for a man that absolutely nobody really thought could ever get this far. Amazing.
For comedians too.
Watching scenes there, big scenes down at the Trump HQ. This is only a few hundred yards from where we are now. A widespread jubilation from them, understandably. The complete opposite, obviously, of the Clinton camp, who are down that way. Misery there, because they started the evening with all the early polling and all the early results looking like Hillary Clinton.
John Fugelsang is with us. You're a comedian, John. Can you make light of this for people who are disappointed?
Well, you know, I had to give a lot of pep talks on the radio earlier at Sirius XM. I mean, this is a victory for people who aren't racist but aren't bothered by racism, for people who don't grope women but aren't bothered by non-consensual groping. It's a victory for people who are against science, who think climate science is fake, who think vaccines cause autism, who think evolution is a myth. There's going to be a lot of comedy to come. And what's most important is that people don't despair. What's most important...
You just knocked out the whole table.
Look,
we can't control ourselves. We're laughing so hard.
Okay, that's an insult on me, which I promise I won't do to you. Donald Trump has not proposed any specific policies that'll help the working class people who are truly struggling. And Ann is very right that both parties have ignored the hardships, and both parties are responsible for the outsourcing of jobs. The problem that's hit American manufacturing is threefold, right? It's automation, deindustrialization, and outsourcing.
Well,
I don't know how we can bring those jobs back.
Yeah, well, you have to say, I mean, Hillary Clinton is kind of equally responsible for his victory.
The strongest part of Donald Trump's entire platform was on trade, on NAFTA. Plenty of hardworking folks are still waiting for their NAFTA prize in the mail 20 years later, and the Clintons have never successfully defended it. Also, Joe Biden's got to be kicking himself tonight. If he's not kicking himself, several million Americans will volunteer to
but let's talk about Joe Biden for a moment, because I would have, personally, if I had the chance, I would have voted for someone like Joe Biden. But the reality is Joe Biden was thinking about it, and his son died. And he's made it very clear recently that his son, Beau, who I knew, I interviewed him numerous times, he died in his 40s. It was a terrible tragedy. And Joe Biden just felt he could not go through this with his family. We know how brutal it is for the family. So Joe Biden really wasn't in a position to do it. And that opened the door for what happened. And just to recap for our viewers who are tuning in, because this is a piece of history. Whatever side of this fence you're on, whether you love Trump, you hate him, it is a remarkable, astounding achievement that a man who's just a business guy and a TV star has now become the most powerful man.
And has said some pretty controversial things in the course of
he certainly has, and now
his life and campaign.
Right, and people will look to him now to be a different kind of person, to unify America if he can, and to be a different person himself. To recap, though, Donald Trump is the 45th president of the United States. Hillary Clinton has lost. She called him a few moments ago. They're both here in New York. She's over there, he's over there. She called him from a hotel room to concede, to congratulate him.
This is a crushing
the US election
disappointment for her.
Well, it's the end of Hillary Clinton's political career, almost certainly. She's now twice tried to run for president. She's beaten, of course, by Barack Obama. She's now been roundly beaten by Donald Trump, and that will be, for her, I'm sure, a humiliation. We're now seeing live pictures. This is Mike Pence, who is, of course, Donald Trump's VP on the campaign trail. He's making a victory sign there, I think, with some of his family. Obviously, there are going to be scenes of remarkable jubilation. Also, we have a new first family. And what a first family they are. There's Mike Pence, so there he is, looking obviously very happy.
Melania Trump is going to be the first lady.
Melania Trump is the first lady. How exciting is that going to be? Ivanka, who's a wonderful lady, Donald's daughter, is going to be in there. The White House is going to be buzzing with the Trumps. And I would imagine many, many, many millions of words of copy are going to be
Let's have a listen to
Let's go to Mike Pence, who's Trump's number 2, to hear his reaction.
Come on this side. Come on this side.
This is a historic night. The American people have spoken, and the American people have elected their new champion. America has elected a new president, and it's almost hard for me to express the honor that I and my family feel that we will have the privilege to serve as your Vice President of the United States of America. I come to this moment deeply humbled, grateful to God for His amazing grace. Grateful to my family, my wonderful wife, Karen, our son, Michael, and his fiancée, Sarah, our daughter, Audrey, far away, and our daughter, Charlotte. I could not be here without them. And I'm deeply grateful to the American people for placing their confidence in this team and giving us this opportunity to serve. And I'm mostly grateful to our president-elect, whose leadership and vision will make America great again. So let me say, it is my high honor and distinct privilege to introduce to you the President-elect of the United States of America, Donald Trump.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. Sorry to keep you waiting. Complicated business. Complicated. Thank you very much. I've just received a call from Secretary Clinton. She congratulated us, it's about us, on our victory. And I congratulated her and her family on a very, very hard-fought campaign. I mean, she fought very hard. Hillary has worked very long and very hard over a long period of time, and we owe her a major debt of gratitude for her service to our country. I mean that very sincerely. Now it's time for America to bind the wounds of division, have to get together. To all Republicans and Democrats and independents across this nation, I say it is time for us to come together as one united people. It's time. I pledge to every citizen of our land that I will be president for all Americans, and this is so important to me. For those who have chosen not to support me in the past, of which there were a few people, I'm reaching out to you for your guidance and your help so that we can work together and unify our great country. As I've said from the beginning, ours was not a campaign, but rather an incredible and great movement made up of millions of hardworking men and women who love their country and want a better, brighter future for themselves and for their family. It's a movement comprised of Americans from all races, religions, backgrounds, and beliefs who want and expect our government to serve the people, and serve the people it will. Working together, we will begin the urgent task of rebuilding our nation and renewing the American dream. I've spent my entire life in business looking at the untapped potential in projects and in people all over the world. That is now what I want to do for our country. Tremendous potential. I've gotten to know our country so well. Tremendous potential. It's going to be a beautiful thing. Every single American will have the opportunity to realize his or her fullest potential. The forgotten men and women of our country will be forgotten no longer. We are going to fix our inner cities and rebuild our highways, bridges, tunnels, airports, schools, hospitals. We're going to rebuild our infrastructure, which will become, by the way, second to none. And we will put millions of our people to work as we rebuild it. We will also finally take care of our great veterans. Who've been so loyal, and I've gotten to know so many over this 18-month journey. The time I've spent with them during this campaign has been among my greatest honors. Our veterans are incredible people. We will embark upon a project of national growth and renewal. I will harness the creative talents of our people, and we will call upon the best and brightest to leverage their tremendous talent for the benefit of all. It's going to happen. We have a great economic plan. We will double our growth and have the strongest economy anywhere in the world. At the same time, we will get along with all other nations, willing to get along with us. We will be. We'll have great relationships. We expect to have great, great relationships. No dream is too big, no challenge is too great. Nothing we want for our future is beyond our reach. America will no longer settle for anything less than the best. We must reclaim our country's destiny and dream big and bold and daring. We have to do that. We're going to dream of things for our country and beautiful things and successful things once again. I want to tell the world community that while we will always put America's interests first, we will deal fairly with everyone, all people and all other nations. We will seek common ground, not hostility, partnership, not conflict. And now, I'd like to take this moment to thank some of the people who really helped me with this, what they are calling tonight, very, very historic victory. First, I want to thank my parents, who I know are looking down on me right now. Great people. I've learned so much from them. They were wonderful in every regard. I had truly great parents. I also want to thank my sisters, Marianne and Elizabeth, who are here with us tonight. And where are they? They're here someplace. They're very shy, actually. And my brother Robert, my great friend. Where is Robert? Where is Robert? My brother Robert. And they should all be on this stage, but that's okay. They are great. And also my late brother Fred, great guy, fantastic guy. Fantastic family. I was very lucky. Great brothers, sisters, great, unbelievable parents. To Melania and Don, and Ivanka, and Eric, and Tiffany, and Barron. I love you and I thank you, and especially for putting up with all of those hours. This was tough. This was tough. This political stuff is nasty and it's tough. So I want to thank my family very much. Really fantastic. Thank you all. Thank you all. And Lara, unbelievable job. Unbelievable. Vanessa, thank you. Thank you very much. What a great group. You've all given me such incredible support, and I will tell you that we have a large group of people. You know, they kept saying we have a small staff. Not so small. Look at all the people that we have. Look at all of these people. And Kellyanne, and Chris, and Rudy, and Steve, and David. We have got tremendously talented people up here, and I want to tell you, it's been very, very special. I want to give a very special thanks to our former mayor, Rudy Giuliani. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. He traveled with us and he went through meetings. And see that Rudy never changes. Where's Rudy? Where is he? Rudy. Governor Chris Christie, folks, was unbelievable. Thank you, Chris. The first man, first senator, first major politician, and let me tell you, he is highly respected in Washington because he's as smart as you get. Senator Jeff Sessions. Where's Jeff? Great man. Another great man, very tough competitor. He was not easy. He was not easy. Who is that? Is that the mayor that showed up? Is that Rudy? Oh, Rudy got up here. Another great man who has been really a friend to me, but I'll tell you, I got to know him as a competitor because he was one of the folks that was negotiating to go against those Democrats. Dr. Ben Carson. Where's Ben? Where is Ben? And by the way, Mike Huckabee is here someplace, and he is fantastic. Mike and his family, Sarah, thank you very much. General Mike Flynn. Where is Mike? And General Kellogg. We have over 200 generals and admirals that have endorsed our campaign. And they're special people, and it's really an honor. We have 22 Congressional Medal of Honor recipients. We have just tremendous people. A very special person who believed me, and you know, I'd read reports that I wasn't getting along with him. I never had a bad second with him. He's an unbelievable star. He is, that's right, how did you possibly guess? So let me tell you about Reince. And I've said this. I said, Reince, and I know it. Look at all those people over there. I know it. Reince is a superstar. But I said, they can't call you a superstar, Reince, unless we win. Because you can't be called a superstar like Secretariat. If Secretariat came in second, Secretariat would not have that big, beautiful bronze bust at the track at Belmont. But I'll tell you, Reince is really a star. And he is the hardest working guy. And in a certain way, I did this. Reince, come up here. Where is Reince? Get over here, Reince. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. It's about time you did this, Reince. Huh? My guy. Yeah, say a few words. No, come on. Say something.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next president of the United States, Donald Trump. Thank you. It's been an honor. God bless. Thank God.
Amazing guy. Our partnership with the RNC was so important to the success and what we've done. So I also have to say I've gotten to know some incredible people, the Secret Service people. They're tough, and they're smart, and they're sharp, and I don't want to mess around with them, I can tell you. And when I want to go and wave to a big group of people and they rip me down and put me back down in the seat. But they are fantastic people, so I want to thank the Secret Service. And law enforcement in New York City, they're here tonight. These are spectacular people, sometimes underappreciated, unfortunately. But we appreciate them. We know what they go through. So it's been what they call a historic event. But to be really historic, we have to do a great job. And I promise you that I will not let you down. We will do a great job. We will do a great job. I look very much forward to being your president. And hopefully at the end of 2 years or 3 years or 4 years, or maybe even 8 years, you will say, so many of you work so hard for us, but you will say that that was something that you really were very proud to do, and I can thank you very much. And I can only say that while the campaign is over, our work on this movement is now really just beginning. We're going to get to work immediately for the American people. And we're going to be doing a job that hopefully you'll be so proud of your president. You'll be so proud. Again, it's my honor. It was an amazing evening. It's been an amazing 2-year period. And I love this country. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you to Mike Pence. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mike. Congratulations. Thank you.
I mean, quite extraordinary moment, really, for Donald Trump. There he is, businessman, TV superstar, and now President of the United States, greeting his family, the new first family of the United States of America. They'll be moving into the White House when the Obamas vacate after the inauguration in January.
And the song, of course, you can't always get
You
what
can't
you
always
want.
get what you want, the Rolling Stones anthem. Well, Donald Trump just definitely got what he wanted.
Half of America didn't.
Hillary Clinton did not get what she wanted, and it's a sad night for her. Trump was very gracious there in reporting how he had spoken to Hillary Clinton, who rang him to concede and to congratulate him. And, you know, I think the tone there, Jerry Springer, I was quite encouraged there. It was quite a unifying speech. He seemed to be keen to allay the concerns of Americans and of the wider world, that he's not a monster, that he's going to be a fair playing field. If you're fair to us, we'll be fair to you. Were you encouraged at all by what he just said?
Very encouraged by that. If he meant that, and he follows through with that, with let's bring us all together, I think that's wonderful. Hey, I'll sign on.
Okay,
That's
Ann
good.
Coulter, you're a Trumpster. The silent Trumpsters came out. What is your reaction to that speech by Donald Trump? It wasn't one of his longer ones. He seemed to be hitting all the right buttons. He thanked his family, his parents, his siblings, his kids, obviously. What is your reaction to the first words of President Trump?
It was also nice when he said that Hillary called to concede, and he didn't say to me, he said to us. And he's been very good at saying that. This is a movement he's leading. And that's a big point he had to make in this campaign. It's not about him. He keeps talking about issues and policies, and they keep attacking him for his personal baggage. Yeah, he's an imperfect man. Nobody's voting for him for the personal baggage. It's the issues. And that's what's won. It will be a lot of work, but he is a gracious person. I'm not surprised at all. I think you'll be very surprised, Jerry Springer.
Okay, interesting his tone. And interesting his tone in that speech, because as you said, I mean, we know we've already been talking about he's going to be a different person as president than he was as a candidate.
Not quite.
But that was so, I mean, you know, there was a real soothingness to that tone, wasn't there?
No, but I just, the only thing I want to contest of what you've said is the idea is always that people are changing their personalities and what they believe. And one thing Trump didn't have to do, which is sort of the cliche of politics, is portray himself as one thing in the primaries and differently in the general. He did not. It is the same man, but of course he's a successful businessman. You speak differently when you're talking at a rally versus you're giving a speech accepting the nomination or just now accepting the president-elect status. The same way you talk differently to your wife or your child or your employer. It's the same person. He's not changing his positions, and that's the only thing I want. This is about him overturning the ruling class. That is not changing.
Take all the criticism of Donald Trump and look at what he just did, which is exactly the opposite of what I think a lot of people thought they were about to see, which was some sort of gloating, some sort of grandstanding. I won, the other side lost, Hillary Clinton go home. Donald Trump has been underestimated since the very beginning. He's a very intellectual and smart man, and he knows, you know, when he talked about the art of the deal, that was making the deal with the American voter tonight, that, hey, I'm willing to work for and be the president for everyone. That was probably the most calm speech we've seen from him in 6 to 8 months.
And also, Ben, you mentioned The Art of the Deal, Trump's best-selling book. And if you read it, it's full of very aggressive rhetoric. It's how you close a deal. You know, he's a real estate tycoon.
Also, the person that he wrote it with warned against Donald Trump in the run-up to the election.
Well, that was a different book. That was a different book. This was his business book about... That wasn't The Art of the Deal, was it?
Yeah, that was with the person he wrote The Art of the Deal with, yeah.
It was that guy?
Yeah.
Well, okay, but the point I was going to make was the rhetoric, the angry rhetoric, the aggressive, bombastic rhetoric he uses in the book.
Yeah.
You know, everyone wants to kill the fastest gun. Let's whack them before they whack
which led
us.
the guy who wrote it to warn about his personality and said he wasn't
Right, but my
suited for the
point would be
presidency.
that this guy has been operating in the business world of this city, trying to close deals with some of the most ruthless people imaginable.
It's dog-eat-dog world in real estate, especially in New York.
Right, so a campaign to him was the same thing. Sure. It was like taking on guys, trying to beat them. He took down 17 of his GOP guys.
Look at what he did to the 17 GOP members that he went after. But you notice tonight he mentioned key figures in the Republican Party, whether it be Mike Huckabee or Ben Carson. That was, I think, him messaging, I'm going to try to unite everyone back together quickly. And also to the country that, hey, I am not someone that you should fear. We can do amazing things in this country. I do have an agenda. I think Ann and I both understand one thing very clearly. He has an agenda. He's going to go to Washington with that agenda. He's not going to back down from the agenda.
Aaron, do you have
but I
the one
think
with-
the way that you see him do it is going to be very articulate, and I think it's going to be very, very smart the way he does this.
Yeah, two lines from his speech right at the beginning. He wants to bind the wounds of division and come
Absolutely.
together as one united people, and that, you know, that's going to act as a salve, isn't it, Jerry? To some.
Look, I think tonight we give him everything. He won tonight, and he doesn't need to be picked apart. And I think this was a wonderful, wonderful speech. I think it probably was the exact same speech that Hillary would have given. It's time to bring us together. So I'm not criticizing him at all for that speech. It's wonderful. I hope that's exactly what happens. You can understand why I would be a little concerned, because a day before he said, if I'm elected, I'm going to prosecute you. You know,
Yeah, but he's making
so
the point.
This is a change in attitude.
Yeah, but Jerry,
here's what I'll say. I think the American people.
He's closed the deal, is
Yeah.
my point, right? Trump has closed the deal. He is president, and when he closes business deals, he told me this in an interview once, that when he closed a business deal, however bad it had been, and thumping each other metaphorically, and going at each other, and laughing and crying and joking and shouting, the moment the deal was done, then have a drink. He doesn't drink, but have a cup of coffee, have a chat, have a laugh, put it behind you, move on once the deal is closed.
Because he is that skilled. I'll grant you that. The part we don't yet know is all those people that come to the rallies and scream out, lock her up, USA, whatever it is, all that kind of stuff.
Come on, would you stop denouncing the Trumps? You haven't even been to a Trump rally. I introduce him at Trump rallies. They're lovely Americans. He gets hundreds of thousands every week.
Do they not chant, lock her up, lock her up? They did even.
They're
the American
happy and
voters.
laughing. You act like they're Nazi stormtroopers. This is
I
so
didn't use that term.
insane.
I said
Oh
they
my
do
gosh,
chant.
you need
Could we
to meet
run the tape?
Americans. They're
Could
lovely
we run-
people.
I know they are. And I see more of them on my show than you see every day.
Jerry,
They're not those people.
They are.
No.
think
Here's the
for a
one thing
second
I'll
they're
say
not.
about don't worry about the lock her up, because I think the American people prosecuted Hillary Clinton and they decided to convict her that they couldn't trust her. And that's why Donald Trump's the president of the United States of America. It's going to move on from here. I've already moved on. I think you should probably move on with us on this
Well,
one.
I am. I'm very happy. Did I not say I'm very happy with what was just said? I hope that his people go along with that. That's what I'm
We're
saying.
really nice,
It's
I
a really-
promise. We really are nice people.
Good. Well, that's reassuring, Ben. We know you are.
I don't think you're deplorable.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, let's just recap here for viewers who are tuning in. It's still obviously early morning in Britain. It's about 10 past 8 in the morning. It's 13 minutes past 8 because it's 3:13 here in New York. Donald Trump is the new president of the United States. He's the 45th president. Hillary Clinton, a few minutes ago, rang Trump to concede, to congratulate him on his victory. She's in a hotel very near us over there. She hasn't been seen yet. Donald Trump just made a very, I would say, reasonable, inclusive speech, reaching out to people saying, if you're fair to us, we'll be fair to you.
Come together as one united people. He says he's reaching out for guidance and help to unify the country. He said he's planning to have great relations with the rest of the world. America will no longer settle for anything less than the best. He called it a very, very historic victory. He is the president-elect. The inauguration will take place towards the end of January. But it is an absolutely extraordinary story, Donald Trump's victory and Hillary Clinton's defeat this morning. We'll be back with you after this.
Well, welcome back to our live special from here in New York on the US presidential election. And Donald Trump is the new president of the United States of America. Hillary Clinton rang him to concede, to congratulate him. Trump has made a very brief but quite poignant speech just now, thanking his late parents, thanking his family, thanking America for putting their trust in him, reaching out to the world to say, If you're fair to us, then I'll be fair to you. The speech is going down quite well with people. But now I'm going to go to Ranveer Singh, who's in Washington, for the reaction there, because this is a political earthquake.
Yeah, very good morning to you from Washington that is slowly coming to terms with what has been an absolute shock, I think, for people here. I don't think anybody really expected it. I have with me two guests. I have Troy McCurry, who is a constitutional expert, election lawyer, and Reggie Love, who we've had on the programme in London too, who is a close friend of President Barack Obama's. We've just heard the President-elect, Donald Trump, give quite a conciliatory speech about bringing unity. But this has got to be a crushing blow to Barack Obama, who campaigned so hard for Hillary and talked about his legacy and don't let it go.
No, I think, the president did campaign very hard on behalf of Hillary Clinton, and I think the hope was, people would have been excited to turn out, but unfortunately it didn't seem like we got nearly the numbers and turnout that he did in 2012 and in 2008.
And why was that? I mean, was the comparison in a sense that, Michelle Obama was so charismatic that many felt that actually if she was running, she probably would have got people more excited than Hillary did herself?
I think, I spent a lot of time myself campaigning on behalf of Hillary Clinton in North Carolina, and I think, a lot of the issues that you heard were, issues around the criminal justice system and some of the universities, and some people kind of felt like maybe that there were no good options.
So do you think there was a lot of voter apathy? Because I think turnout is, we think, going to be lower than it was in 2012. So 129 million voted in 2012.
That's right.
Troy, what you
right now,
hearing?
it seems like the numbers, there's still a lot of votes to be counted across the country, but especially in California, which obviously has a lot of voters there. But it looks like the turnout could be down almost 10 million since 2012. And so that's a remarkable number. I mean, that's 10 million less voters than 4 years ago. That's a significant decrease.
And so it seems perhaps that every single one of Trump's supporters came out, but those who were sort of neither here nor there about Hillary, not enthused by her, perhaps stayed at home.
Right. I mean, I think we'll obviously know more of this as some of the numbers come in. We can break it down, and the experts can look into that. But I think it's a lot of these states, the states that definitely voted for Democrats for years, and especially President Obama in 2008, 2012, like Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, that there's a lot of voters that didn't come out, and so it seems like those were Democrat voters and didn't turn out.
President Donald Trump, we're going to have to get used to saying that now. It doesn't quite trip off the tongue just yet, but President-elect Donald Trump in the campaign in the last 48 hours made a big deal about Obamacare, about how it was a waste of money and that it was just too much of the nanny state, and he was going to repeal it. Obviously, that was something that it's got his name on it. It's got President Barack Obama's name on it. How much is that going to hurt if that actually disintegrates within the first 100 days of this presidency?
Look, I think for the first time here in the U.S., and I know, as UK citizens, you guys may take it for granted a little bit, but for the first time in the U.S., we've had the most amount of people who've been insured in the history of the country, and I think it's been pretty important personally and for the country. And look, I think Trump will most likely try to take a stab at trying to fix or change it, but I think if that's the way that people feel about it, I think he'll have a real chance to go at it. But I think once people have health care, I think it's hard to go to a state where you don't have it.
Yeah, well, and that's interesting. Look, we've got the Republicans will have control of the Senate. They've already got control of the House of Representatives. How easy is it going to be for Donald Trump to get some of the things he said done?
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on what things you're talking about. I mean, some of the things that he's proposed,
the wall. Let's talk about the wall. He mentioned it,
I mean, the cost estimates on the wall are just astronomical. And one of the things that I think some Republicans still ran on was the massive debt that the country has right now, and the deficit there. I have a hard time seeing them spending tons of money on a wall that, for all intents and purposes, every expert said won't actually do anything. It's still somewhat of an absurd concept, but the cost to do something like that would just be skyrocket. I mean, it would skyrocket the deficit.
And what I found most interesting in a way out of everything he just said in his very first speech there was when he said, look, there are many of you who didn't support me, and I think he was talking to Republicans, senior Republicans, but I am reaching out to you to help me do this. And that's quite interesting that he's aware
the president doesn't have complete authority. He does, but he needs support from the party.
Well, sure, and I think you've seen throughout this campaign, there have been moments in time where Donald Trump acted presidential. They may have been small and fleeting, and they've kind of dissipated quickly, but I think what you saw tonight was a hint of one of those moments. The question now is how long does that last?
Yeah, and final word from you, Reggie. You know President Barack Obama. You were playing basketball with him just in this last day. What will be the lasting legacy of President Obama?
Look, I think when you look at the state of the country that it was in when he was elected in 2008, the first African-American president elected, 120 plus million people turned out in that election. You know, I think there'll be a lot of great things that he's accomplished that people will remember. Everything from, you know, bringing the country from the brink of the Great Recession, the housing crisis, saving the auto industry, and you know, I think the Affordable Care Act will also be one of those things that people will remember him for as well.
Okay, Reggie Love, Troy McCurry, thank you very much. Handing back from Washington.
Thanks for having us.
It's an extraordinary morning, isn't it, Ranveer? Thanks very much
How
indeed.
exciting is it to be here? You know, to be in the middle of it, because what's extraordinary about it is you've got two New Yorkers, one of them's over there, celebrating with all his followers. The other one's cooped up in a hotel over there. We're in this sort of 1 mile radius area.
One candidate who had enormous experience, the backing of a president who has historically high popularity ratings himself, who pretty much thought that she had this and that it would be a historic win. She'd be the first woman who would be president of the United States. And then we had a candidate who didn't have any political experience at all, really controversial comments that he made openly at campaign rallies and, you know, in speeches and interviews, and then some which emerged that he didn't intend to become public, but didn't seem to knock him at all. In fact, it seemed to just entrench his popularity. When you talk to people who said they were going to vote Trump, they said, we want him to be president because he says what he thinks and he's honest. Now,
Well,
even though, you know, fact checkers would check the I know Jerry Springer's alongside us.
Well,
and
Jerry can shrug, but the truth is there was a poll last week saying that Americans had Trump 8% ahead of Hillary on trust. They trust Trump more. And what does that say about Hillary? So what we have here is we have a clip. This is from an interview that I did with Donald Trump. We got the only interviews that he did with anyone on British television. And this is what he said when I asked him about the special relationship with our country, about what he would do about ISIS, and what kind of president he might be if he won. Take a look at this.
If I become president, I know that we're going to have a fantastic relationship, and I will do everything within my power to make sure it stays that way. I think the relationship will be better, actually much better and much stronger than it is right now. I'll work very hard to make our country a safer place.
What would you do, and what would you tell countries in Europe to do to combat ISIS?
I would hit ISIS so hard you wouldn't believe it, and I'd get the people over there to put up their soldiers, because it's about time that somebody did it. But I'd have such backup like you've never seen before in terms of air power, airstrikes, etc. And you've got to take them out, and you've got to take them out harshly, and you've got to take them out fast. It's Make America Great Again. I mean, I'm doing this for a reason. I'm giving back something. It's a very difficult situation. It's a very difficult thing to do. You know, running for president is not exactly easy.
So that was your interview with Donald Trump?
Yeah, we did two big interviews with him. The second one was here in New York, and we'll get some clips from that as well, because obviously I talked to him then about what kind of president he thought he'd be. And, you know, Trump's got there, and you know, a lot of people in Britain, I'm watching the Twitter reaction, a lot of outrage and hurt and people sobbing and wailing.
It's a kind of bubble, though, the social media reaction.
It is a bit, but also
it
it reflects, I think, a wider opinion in Britain based on all the sound bites about Trump that came over the water, that he's some kind of awful monster, he's going to rampage around the world.
Well, there's a couple of people sitting at this table who think that he might be an awful monster.
My point is, I think we need to all collectively get a bit of a grip, because Trump is now the president-elect. He is going to be president. This has happened. And it's a bit like the Brexit debate, Jerry, back in Britain, where people are trying to reinvent the wheel, go back in time, say it hasn't happened. Actually, you've got to confront these things, deal with them, move on, and make them work, right?
I totally get that. I understand that. He won. But you can't ignore the pain that was inflicted on millions and millions of Americans. Those of us who are white and kind of privileged or have a really good life, a comfortable life. There are people going to bed in America tonight that are really frightened. And we just pass it off as well, if the election, nice going. It's not a political discussion. There are kids that are either, I'll let you speak for yourself, whether it's African American, Hispanic, Muslim, etc. We're not making this up. They're scared. And we have to come to grips with that. That's not just, well, gee, I wish I could get a better job.
Okay, you're referring to Midwin Charles here, writer for the Huffington Post. In essence, you're a legal analyst, you're a radio host. You have said you don't necessarily want to stay in a country which has Donald Trump as the president. Are you frightened?
Well, I mean, I say that in jest. I mean, listen, I'm not going anywhere. Yeah. I'm a Brooklyn girl, born and raised, and no one's chasing me out of Brooklyn. I'm going to say that. I just find this astounding. I am just still processing it. And I think one of the things that Jerry just said really rings home in the sense where we have all watched, the world has watched for about a year and a half, Donald Trump consistently, not just once, not just twice, but consistently say things that have alienated certain groups of people at his own doing. And I understand why he did it, because this is how he galvanized his base, okay?
Alienated groups of people.
Of course.
And
Mexicans.
Attracted people.
Exactly.
But that's not good.
Exactly.
Well, hold on.
That's not good.
That's not a good thing.
That's
We
not a
don't
good
want
thing.
people to.
How about when Hillary Clinton talked about the basket of deplorables? But
Okay.
also,
Anything else?
if these
Has
people are
anybody
so
been beaten up
scared,
at her rallies?
if people are
Has
so
anybody been
scared, you know
pushed
what's to
around
blame
at
for
her
that? The
rallies?
media. The media has made this into a big spectacle. Again, they deflect the nation's attention away from the issues and on to comments Trump made 10 years ago, sometimes more longer.
No, he made comments last week.
When he was
I mean,
talking
he-
about the issues, it was enough to get people concerned, though, wasn't it? The way that he talked about how to deal with Mexicans who he blamed for being criminals.
That was taken out of
or
context.
Muslims
When
and
you
the ban on
listen to
Muslims.
the media played one little clip over and over. When you listen to that comment in
media
context,
played the entire
what he
press
was talking about was illegal immigrants who cross our border illegally, and they come in, they commit crimes. Some of them kill American citizens, and then our government often releases them from prison onto U.S. soil. That is a problem that he was addressing. He was not saying all Mexicans were rapists. That's ridiculous.
And what
and
about
Americans
when
are
he-
smart enough to see through that.
And what
media
about when he
bias.
said a federal judge could not be impartial and just because of the fact that
That
he
I
had...
disagree
because
with.
of the
That
fact,
I disagree
But that's
with.
my point. He has been consistently making comments like that to sort of divide the
Okay,
country.
but let me point out the bleeding obvious here, which is he won. So we can all relitigate the campaign.
No one doubts
No,
that,
but my point
Piers.
being-
no one doubts
So
that.
this appealed, that these messages appealed and worked.
Exactly.
My-
That's my
yeah,
point.
I think-
because he didn't,
No,
he
but hang
didn't
on.
have a ground
Let me finish
game.
my point.
He ran a very unconventional
Let me
campaign.
finish my point. I am here, okay?
We are in no doubt, Piers,
That's fine.
that you are
That's
here.
fine. Here's my point, is that very similar to what happened with the EU referendum in Britain, is that anybody that attached themselves to the Brexit campaign, like anyone who attached themselves to Trump, was immediately branded by the more establishment people on the other side as racist, xenophobic, sexist, stupid, ignorant, bigoted, blah, 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 of which some of them clearly were. But many millions of people actually saw something else in the EU referendum and see something else in Trump, which doesn't make them automatically racist, ignorant slobs, pigs, and so on. And part of the unification, I think, of America now has got to be an understanding of both sides, that now everyone comes together and moves on. And I think you've got to give Trump a bit of time now to be President Trump, not candidate Trump, because the two may be very different things.
Yeah. Well, let's wait and see, because your message, not you, but Trump's message for the past year and a half, again, and I have to belabor this point, has been quite consistent with respect to how he feels about certain groups of people. So now you're telling me that we are all supposed to magically believe that tomorrow or January 20th, when he takes that oath, all of a sudden he'll be a different person. Well, then what happens to his base who wanted that person who was running for a year and a half? He's going to have to deliver to them as
we
well.
have to take a break. We've got to go to Alex, who's in London, with the weather for us. Alex?
Hello, good morning. Well, as Donald Trump snowballed across America, it seems as though we felt the effects here overnight. We have seen some snowfall over the high ground and the Scottish mountains, over the Pennines, all the places you'd expect to see some snow with the kind of weather conditions that we've had across the UK in the last 24 hours. Many of us have seen a lot of rain as well. We had an extensive band of rain crossing the country. That will clear through the rest of today, along with the hill snow. More showers coming in behind. And across the south, we're going to see the winds picking up, touching gale force, particularly out towards the southwest of England. This is the latest satellite and radar picture. You can see the band of rain very clearly, which is still across central and eastern areas. Heavy in places, as I say, we could still see some more snowfall over the high ground, even at some lower levels, but we're talking wet snow here. Out towards the west, we will see more showers pushing in. The snow warning that has been in place through the morning time is going to expire in the next half an hour. Out towards the east, that rain clears away. As I say, more showers coming in behind. Wherever you are, wrap up warm. Temperatures in places no higher than 5 degrees.
For the weather in detail where you are, go to itv.com/weather.
OK, and it's a very warm, surprisingly mild night here. Yeah, you with no coats. It's all been rather nice.
I might take mine off.
Coming up on this extraordinary night of history, we'll have more on Donald Trump's presidential win live here from New York in a few minutes.
A very good morning to you from Times Square in New York. The news this morning, of course, Donald Trump, the president-elect of the United States of America.
Words most of you probably did not think you'd ever hear.
Although you kept telling us, Piers.
I did try and warn the nation. Yes, I did. Many nations, in fact. Hillary Clinton telephoned Donald Trump earlier this morning to concede defeat and to congratulate him. And Trump, we heard from earlier, speaking at his HQ in New York up the road. But we've also got breaking news that the Russian President, Vladimir Putin, has also contacted Trump, we think, via telegram to congratulate him. Be a very interesting relationship, that, for the world. Yes. Trump has obviously been quite conciliatory about Putin in public. Hillary Clinton was notably very hostile towards Putin. I don't think it's such a bad thing if the presidents of Russia and America get on. Jerry Springer, is it a bad thing?
No,
if the two countries have a cordial relationship?
No, they've worked out a deal. Russia's going to be our 51st state. and I think that's just going to be...
You know what? I've got no problem if they want to be friendly until, you know, it's unfriendly. That's far worse. So good luck to the pair of them. Here's Jonathan Swain with the story of an extraordinary night.
No one thought it would be possible, and possibly at times even him. But now here he is, standing on this stage, not campaigning, but celebrating as the next president of the United States.
I've just received a call from Secretary Clinton. She congratulated us, it's about us, on our victory.
Speaking on auto cue, this was a more measured speech, but still with the same core message of making America great again.
We must reclaim our country's destiny and dream big and bold and daring. We have to do that. We're going to dream of things for our country, and beautiful things and successful things once again.
It was a nervous night across America. All walks of life were glued to the results. But for Clinton supporters, it soon became a very glum night. A crushing defeat for her, just a tweet thanking supporters for their hard work. The White House, though, looked serene as the rush of results came in. The next occupant of this building needed to win the key swing states, and Ohio was the first to declare.
Donald Trump will take Ohio.
Supporters in Trump Tower knew the path to the presidency was becoming possible. The important state of Florida was too close to call for much of the night, but with just a few votes in it, it was finally awarded to Donald Trump. The Republican win is already being severely felt across the world. Markets are down across Asia, and London is down slightly in early trading. Months ago, a win for him was never expected, but this has been a year for political turmoil.
This is bigger than Brexit. This is the most powerful man in the world, and he's about to change around the direction of America, and he'll do so with a Senate and a House of Reps on his side.
Mr. Trump is a candidate who has offended many along the way. Some communities now fear the fallout of his win.
This man reflects every bad value that any human being can have, and it's just going to be hard to explain to our young people how this even happened.
This has been a bitter campaign, so Trump's first task will now be to unite these divided states of America.
I love this country. Thank you very much.
Jonathan Swain, Good Morning Britain.
Well, ITV News correspondent Penny Marshall is at the Trump Election Party headquarters around the corner from where we are now. Penny, I'd imagine scenes of jubilation over at Trump HQ.
Indeed, we've been here for 7 hours and actually they're clearing up now. Donald Trump has just left. It started as a muted, almost too scared to dream that they might win party and ended with a massive roar of victory. And then Donald Trump himself arrived and almost calmed it, actually. As your reporter said, quite a measured speech, talked about unifying the nation, thanked Hillary Clinton. I mean, you know, he's pouring oil on troubled waters because this nation is incredibly divided and holding its breath. There are as many people who love him as who find him abhorrent. Okay, Penny. It was a pretty extraordinary moment watching that speech a little bit earlier. It was measured. It was. It had a kind of soothing tone to it, didn't he? He said he wanted to sort of bind the wounds of division, come together as one united people.
I thought he hit all the right notes. You know, he was very gracious about Hillary Clinton. He said that she called him to concede, and he paid tribute to her for the campaign she'd waged. I think Trump's one of those guys that once the deal's done, win or lose, you rub your hands together, you crack on, you move on.
Well, let's talk to someone who's an expert in diplomatic language. Matthew Barzun is the US ambassador to the UK and joins us now. Very good morning to you, Ambassador Barzun. What's your reaction?
Good morning. Thanks for having me on. So I have been up most of the night watching those returns come in, and I think the words we just heard from the President-elect, and I'll take this opportunity to congratulate the President-elect and the Vice President-elect, mirrored in really important ways what President Obama said last night right as the polls closed, before anyone knew which candidate would win, both calling upon Americans to come together as Americans in the wake of what everyone would acknowledge was an incredibly hard-fought, bitter, almost bizarre in a way, election that we've all been through. And I think at our best, every 4 years we do that, and then we recover and we're resilient and we move forward.
Ambassador, it's Piers Morgan here. Good to talk to you. Let me ask you about what Donald Trump needs to do now. Now that he's president-elect, to be president come the middle of January, what would you like to see him do to try and unify the country again, to put all this division away and try and bring Americans together?
Well, it's not my role to give him advice. I think as I mentioned earlier, I mean, I think the themes that he covered in his acceptance speech and that were echoed by President Obama get to the key thing, which is as hard as we fight together, we have to come together as Americans. And it's one thing for us to look to our elected leaders, but President Obama reminded us that each of us as citizens have responsibilities. What do we do tomorrow and the next day? And I would argue that we need to have disagreements and dialogue and do that with decency. That's the sort of thing that our democracies demand of us as citizens.
Ambassador, you're based in London, of course, and you will be leaving your post, I understand. But what do you think the relationship will be like between Theresa May as Prime Minister of the UK and Donald Trump as President of the United States?
That's right. I mean, look, I think we have such a great history of our two heads of government working well, going back decades. And that's an important part of it, and I am confident that will go well. But that's not the only thing we have. We've got all levels of government. We've got the military cooperation, the intelligence community and their cooperation, and what we do with international aid, with DFID and USAID, et cetera, and that's just the government piece. Think what we do together, the businesses we build together, the culture we create together, all of those things, the tens of thousands of students going both ways across the Atlantic, 4 million travelers both ways. The special relationship, I think, lives in each and every one of those thousands and tens and thousands and even millions of strands between our two countries. That's what makes it strong, in addition to the government relations.
And Ambassador, Donald Trump, his mother, of course, was Scottish and only came over to America in her late teens. When I interviewed Donald Trump, very proud of his Scottish roots, he felt almost half British. Do you think that may help smooth over the ruffled feathers that we had, perhaps from some of the British politicians towards him last year?
You know, Piers, when I think about the U.S.-UK relations, and obviously there's so many familial ones, I don't think that the familiar ones are actually the most important of why we remain incredibly good friends, best friends as countries. It's really the values and not where your parents or your grandparents or your great-great-great-grandparents were born. I think that misses the magic of what we really have going between us. I think it's that we mean the same things when we say the world more peaceful, more prosperous, more just, as President Obama put it. Those are the sorts of things that have nothing to do with your ancestry, really, but it's about what your hopes and dreams are for the future. And that's where I see the US and the UK so synced up.
And just finally, before we let you go, Ambassador, you know, your boss when she was Secretary of State was Hillary Clinton. I mean, you must be hugely disappointed on her behalf.
Well, look, it is hard for me personally because this role isn't a political role. I mean, my politics aren't that hard to guess based on what political campaigns I used to work for. But importantly, we have this tradition of not being a Democrat ambassador or a Republican ambassador. So I need to put those off to the side, as I did last night as we welcomed thousands into our embassy, Republicans abroad, Democrats abroad, lots of British journalists, British friends, and American expats. We all got together to celebrate this moment of democracy. And I just put the personal politics aside, and as President Obama asked us, and as the President-elect said, let's all be Americans now.
Well, Ambassador, it's been great to talk to you.
Yeah.
Early this summer, I had the great glory of captaining your press team. Well, I was going to say, I captained your cricket team at the US Embassy on your behalf. We demolished the UK press team.
Well, thank you for mentioning that, and thank you for captaining our team. This is as good a place as any. Thank you, thank you.
Well, the point I was going to make was just to thank you for your great service as a wonderful ambassador to our country. We'll miss you too, and I just wanted to pay tribute to you. You've been hugely popular with many people, so thank you, Ambassador. We lost the line there, but anyway.
Let's have a look at the effect that the announcement of Donald Trump as president-elect is having on the financial markets. They've fallen sharply in Asia. Joining us now from central London is a reporter at the Wall Street Journal, Josie Cox. What are the financial markets making of this?
Yeah, good morning. So overnight we did have some very dramatic moves. As you said, the Nikkei, which is the benchmark stock index in Japan, actually closed about 5.4% lower, which of course is a huge fall. But as European markets have opened just about half an hour ago, things have moderated a little bit. The FTSE, which of course is the UK stock market index here, hasn't actually fallen as dramatically as we saw, for example, after the Brexit vote. Part of that is because gold has proved very, very popular at the moment. It's generally seen as sort of a safe haven asset that tends to be not very volatile during times of political turmoil. And the FTSE stock market is quite exposed to metals like gold through all the miners that are listed in that stock market. So Fresnillo, for example, which is one of the big mining companies, was up about 10%, and that's really proving quite a support for the FTSE.
All right, Josie, thanks very much indeed. Josie Cox reporting there on the impact that Donald Trump as president-elect is having on the markets this morning.
Well, yeah, and if you're just waking up, morning, it's been a busy old night, hasn't it?
I've got something
nearly 4
here.
a.m. here in New York.
I went shopping yesterday.
Yeah.
And I got one of these.
Making America Great Again.
Looks like I predicted the outcome correctly.
Well, the one thing you say about that is, it's one thing to promise you're going to make America great again. Mr. Trump will now have to live up to that promise.
Yeah, there we go. There's Donald Trump for President pin. And for anyone who is finding it a bitter taste this morning, here's some Donald Trump chocolate to...
Like the man himself. Warm, cuddly, delicious.
Wait.
There you are, Jerry. Have a bit of Trump chocolate.
Oh, this is great. Made in China.
Anyway, it is a seismic day. Donald Trump is the new president of the United States of America. It's happened. A lot of people very angry about it. Well, get over it, because it isn't going to change. Coming up, we'll have more on Donald Trump's historic presidential win live from New York in a few minutes. Stay with us.
It's a mild morning in New York, but it has got very heated, the reaction to Donald Trump becoming president-elect of the United States. Let's find out what the weather's doing where you are. Here's Alex.
Hello, good morning. Yes, it's a rather chilly start to the day here. We've also seen some snow. In fact, they've got a bit of snow on the set of Emmerdale at the moment. That could prove tricky if they're going to be filming there today. We've also had a pretty extensive band of rain, which has come in from the west overnight, and it's been spreading eastwards. And this will be pretty heavy as it makes its way towards the North Sea and beyond. We'll also see some hill snow still coming through at times, but again, that will clear away by the time we get to the afternoon time. But behind this band of rain are some showers, and the winds are also starting to pick up, particularly across the southern half of the UK. In fact, we could see gale force winds around the coast of Devon and Cornwall through today. This is the latest satellite and radar picture. It shows quite clearly how heavy and quite broad this band of rain has been, and it will continue eastwards as we go through. As I say, some showers coming in behind. There was a weather warning for snow in place. That expires right now, actually, at around 9 o'clock this morning for that snow. It will push out into the North Sea. As I say, showers coming in behind. Bright spells for many of us through the central spine of the country. But wherever you are, wrap up warm. In places no higher than 5 degrees.
For the weather in detail where you are, go to itv.com/weather.
Reaching out to you for your guidance and your help so that we can work together and unify our great country.
Good morning, Britain. On a dramatic day, Donald Trump has been elected the 45th president of the United States of America.
Yeah, quite extraordinary scenes here in New York. You're watching a very special edition of the program live from central Manhattan, where both candidates are here. They're within a mile radius. Hillary Clinton in a hotel room, presumably pretty distraught about what's happened. Donald Trump jubilant. We've already heard from him today. Hillary Clinton telephoned Trump to concede defeat and congratulate him, as has Vladimir Putin has rung him to congratulate him too. World leaders now queuing up, I guess, to pay homage to the new American president. They'll be formally confirmed in January, of course.
Over the next half hour, we will bring you the whole astonishing story from above Times Square and across America.
We'll be live at Trump campaign headquarters as supporters celebrate his unexpected victory.
How it happened, why it happened, and what it means for America, the UK, and the rest of the world.
That's all to come on this historic day for President Donald Trump.
Wednesday, 9th of November, 2016. Live from Times Square, New York. This is Good Morning Britain. America Decides. With Piers Morgan and Susanna Reid.
Good morning. Well. President-elect Donald Trump. The words I don't think you ever thought you'd be saying live on national television, but that's what's happened here in New York City. We're live literally a few hundred yards from where Donald Trump is currently celebrating a stunning victory. It's about 4 a.m. here on America's East Coast, and fair to say This has been a political earthquake.
Yeah, a revolution really, isn't it? Donald Trump, not a politician, but now President-elect of the United States of America. Hillary Clinton telephoned him earlier this morning to concede defeat. Jonathan Swain has the story of a dramatic, revolutionary, extraordinary night.
No one thought it would be possible, and possibly at times even him. But now here he is, standing on this stage, not campaigning, but celebrating as the next president of the United States.
I've just received a call from Secretary Clinton. She congratulated us, it's about us, on our victory.
Speaking on auto cue, this was a more measured speech, but still with the same core message of making America great again.
We must reclaim our country's destiny and dream big and bold and daring. We have to do that. We're going to dream of things for our country, and beautiful things and successful things once again.
It was a nervous night across America. All walks of life were glued to the results. But for Clinton supporters, it soon became a very glum night. A crushing defeat for her, just a tweet thanking supporters for their hard work. The White House, though, looked serene as the rush of results came in. The next occupant of this building needed to win the key swing states, and Ohio was the first to declare.
Donald Trump will take Ohio.
Supporters in Trump Tower knew the path to the presidency was becoming possible. The important state of Florida was too close to call for much of the night, but with just a few votes in it, it was finally awarded to Donald Trump. The Republican win is already being severely felt across the world. Markets are down across Asia, and London is down slightly in early trading. Months ago, a win for him was never expected, but this has been a year for political turmoil.
This is bigger than Brexit. This is the most powerful man in the world, and he's about to change around the direction of America, and he'll do so with a Senate and a House of Reps on his side.
Mr. Trump is a candidate who has offended many along the way. Some communities now fear the fallout of his win.
This man reflects every bad value that any human being can have, and it's just going to be hard to explain to our young people how this even happened.
This has been a bitter campaign, so Trump's first task will now be to unite these divided states of America.
I love this country. Thank you very much.
Jonathan Swain, Good Morning Britain.
There he is, the President-elect Donald Trump, a shock that is reverberating around the world this morning. It's still only 4 a.m. here in New York. Our correspondent Nick Harper is round the corner from where we are at the Donald Trump party headquarters. Nick, fair to say that this has been a stunning victory for Donald Trump and a great night for his supporters.
Absolutely huge night for Donald Trump and definitely for his supporters, but perhaps in some ways a result that not everyone was expecting. According to the opinion polls, all the data going into polling day on Tuesday, the lead seemed to be very much in Hillary Clinton's favour. Donald Trump, though, when he booked the ballroom here at the Hilton Hotel in New York, said he was booking it for his election night celebration party. He thought that he was going to win. His supporters thought he was going to win, and they've certainly been celebrating as the night has gone on. I've got two of them with me here. I've got Andrew Perez and Joey Cepeda, both of you very, very happy. Let me start with you first, Andrew. How amazing was tonight for you?
It's unbelievable. I mean, nobody expected him to win. The media had him down 20 points in the beginning, and then yesterday all of a sudden he's up by 5, and today we have a victory.
And for you, Joey, what was the atmosphere in the ballroom for you?
Historic. It was amazing being surrounded by people who were all very happy to see Donald Trump, our next president. And the world is probably more than ever has proof that never believe the polls. We're experiencing what you guys experienced with Brexit. All the polls said he was not going to win, but we knew there was going to be a huge silent minority who were going to vote for Trump. They just weren't vocal.
Those polls were proved wrong again. I noticed you very visibly here got your Hispanics for Trump, and you were telling me that you live in the south of Texas.
Right, South Texas, on the border.
Near the border area.
No, we're on the border.
So what do you think about his immigration policies, which have been very divisive?
I think it's great. I mean, we have a border that is being crossed every day, and we need to put an end to it. I mean, the media, the news doesn't, announce what's going on. They kind of keep it hush-hush, but it's a problem, and we need to fix it.
And the plan for the wall, for Mexico to pay for that, do you think that's a reality?
When Trump says Mexico's going to pay for the wall, it's not literally Mexico's going to write a check. He has, if you go to his policies, he has laid out ways how things will be paid, whether increasing the bridge crossing fees, the fees of money being sent to Mexico on transactions.
It'll be done.
It'll be done. Our family personally was affected. Our Mexican relatives in Mexico were forced by cartels to start coming to America and start working for them as private investigators. And when they were visiting America in McAllen, Texas, our town, we had no idea that they were under duress. They were anyways, long story short, we've witnessed the problem with firsthand. And then our family, personal level, our family was actually affected by the Justice Department basically making the FBI lie on our father's interview and everything.
But is there any worry for you that he's been very divisive, that he may not be able to be as presidential?
No, not at all. I mean, they just take him, since he's not a politician, he kind of says it like it is, and people don't like that.
Fantastic. Well, Andrew and Jerry, thank you very much for your time today. A huge win for Donald Trump, and as you can see, his supporters very, very pleased.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Here we've got live pictures now of the Empire State Building. Actually, taken a few minutes ago, but there is, wow. I mean,
King Kong.
How much is Donald Trump going to love that? That's a picture of his giant head on the top of the Empire State Building.
He's got quite a serious look on his face as well.
President Trump. That is pretty spectacular. If you're Donald Trump and you've been trying to make a big deal of yourself in this city for 50 years. That is a big dog moment, isn't it?
Isn't it just? Christine Tate, does that make you feel proud to be a Donald Trump supporter?
I mean, I'm very proud of my country tonight, especially seeing Trump's speech a while back. I thought it was really great. And we were talking earlier about unifying the country. I think the most unifying theme of this campaign has been America first. Donald Trump is a fighter, and he wants to fight for all Americans. I would love to see him go into the inner cities where people are struggling right now and lift people up out of poverty. He can do that by bringing law and order back, bringing school choice to the inner cities, allowing businesses to flourish. He can really be a fighter for all Americans and unite this country.
Midwin Charles, you're a Hillary Clinton supporter.
I am. I voted for her this morning.
Do you think he can draw people like you into his unity sort of vision?
Well, I'll have to see what sort of attempts he makes to do that. But from what I've seen and heard directly from him, not the media, I am not sure whether he will deliver on that. I'm glad he said those words today, but I'm one of those people where I go by action.
Yeah. How crushed do you feel as a supporter of Hillary? How will she be taking this? How do the people who believed in her, who thought that she was going to be making history this morning by becoming the first female president, how is that feeling right in this moment?
Well, I'm not sure, because for me, I see it from the perspective of what does this now say? What are we now saying to the world as Americans? We have chosen a person who, as I've said for the past year and a half, has behaved a certain way and said certain things and created an atmosphere that made it literally unsafe for certain segments of the American society.
Or the voters rejected somebody that they just didn't trust.
Correct. And I get that. I completely get that. I understand the will of the people and all that kind of stuff. But again, my point is, what does that say about us as a country?
Jerry, let me bring Jerry in. I mean, the truth is, America's been through a lot worse than this, right? America went through Civil War, Pearl Harbor, dropping atom bombs on the Japanese. It's been through 9/11. It's been through political assassinations of President Kennedy, attempts on Ronald Reagan. And there is a parallel, I think, with Ronald Reagan. Reagan admittedly had a bit more political experience as governor of California, but he was generally berated when he was running for president. He was deemed to be a bit of a bigot, a bit of a racist. He was deemed to be not experienced enough to be a president. He actually turned out to be pretty good, Reagan, and the nation rather liked him, and he's been proven rather popular ever since.
Anything could happen. Anything can happen, and I'm not saying this is the worst day in the history of America, but what I guess what we're saying, or some of us are saying, is that this election was more about who we are than whether or not you like Trump or Hillary. We made a statement to the world. And for whatever reason, the statements that Trump has made over the last year and a half have clearly been very negative towards whole groups of people. Otherwise, they wouldn't be angry.
Although his victory speech was very measured, conciliatory.
I understand that, and it was a great speech, and I said that right away.
The question is, can he pivot? Can he pivot?
Can he?
And does he mean it?
Well, we'll wait and see.
Does he mean it?
And I want to be ambassador to England.
You know what? You were born in a tube station in London,
I'd be
in Highgate. You are the perfect credentials.
Right in.
Ambassador Springer.
I'd be a good one.
Still to come on the programme this morning, we're live, of course, in New York with more on this astonishing day for America, for the UK and for the world.
Been exciting, hasn't it?
Hasn't it just so dramatic?
Amazing to be here. And look at the Empire State Building. Trump must be loving that.
We'll be back after this. What a morning.
Well, we're joined now by Donald Trump supporter and political commentator Ben Ferguson and our security expert Mikey Kay. Mike, let's go to you. You've been waiting patiently to get stuck in here. Good timing to have you. Vladimir Putin has already rung or telegrammed to pay respects to Donald Trump. Indian Prime Minister the same. World leaders now queuing up to, embrace the new president. What can we look for in a Trump presidency in terms of the foreign stage? What are the warning signs? What are the positives?
Well, I think this is a new chapter for Donald Trump. I think what he's got to do is he's now got to display presidential qualifications. He's now got to display something which involves humility. He's got to show that he's got a little bit of knowledge of the international environment. But the most important two things that I think that are really going on at the moment are, how do you not make the mistakes of Iraq and Afghanistan in terms of the clear whole build, the counterinsurgency operations? How do you rectify that? And at the same time, how do you deal with a resurgent Russia?
Mikey,
and they're two very different
Is
problems.
the world a safer place with Donald Trump in the White House from January?
Well, at the moment, nothing's changed. We've still got a problem in Syria, which we have yet to solve, and we've now got a resurgent Russia. So nothing right now has changed. How does Donald Trump deal with that? I think moving forward, he's already said to the world that he thinks he needs to align more with Russia in order to deal with Syria. I actually don't think that is a wild suggestion, to be honest, because they've always held the key. Putin's always held the key on the Security Council. So that's somewhere where we need to have a look at, we need to explore. When it comes to things like the Iran deal, the nuclear deal, I think that will be interesting. Is he going to tear that up because he disagrees with it, or is he actually going to be pragmatic and actually, take it forward rather than go back to the
beginning? Let me bring in Ben Ferguson. I mean, Donald Trump is going to have an extraordinary mandate because the Republicans will control both parts of Congress. They're going to have the Senate and the House of Representatives. Also, they're going to have a majority conservative Supreme Court. So you've got Donald Trump really
Fully
every
in charge.
part of the American establishment in terms of the presidency and everything around it is going to be run by the Republicans.
Yeah, he has the tools of what you need to be successful as president.
But that can be dangerous.
It can be dangerous, and there's several presidents, including Barack Obama, that I think can tell you just how dangerous that can be when you have what he almost had a supermajority and really lost it because he wasn't able to work with the other side. I think one of the things that Donald Trump is going to surprise people with is this. I think he realizes that maybe a mandate of just your side is not enough to actually get things done in the long term. But
there's also a lot of Republicans who don't support
Right, but
Donald
now
Trump.
but here's the thing. Do you really want to go toe-to-toe with Donald Trump right now? No. because you just saw what happened. I think Donald Trump's going to be able to get the Republican Party in line. I also think, though, he's going to be smart. I think he'll go in the room and say, we're going to get a deal done on X, Y, and Z. Like, I don't think he's going to totally repeal Obamacare. I think he's going to walk in and say, there are some problems with it, and it needs to be real fixes, and we're going to do this in a bipartisan way. And I think people will probably go along with that.
Jerry, you felt depressed this morning. You'd said that if he'd won, you'd want to leave the country. You're offering to come to the UK to be an ambassador. Is there part of you, just a tiny part of you, that feels a glimmer of hope and optimism? There's someone who isn't just more of the same.
Part of being an American is feeling optimistic about all things are possible. So yes, and I'm serious, I want him to be successful. You know, if tonight's speech was what is the direction he intends to go in reaching out, that's great. But remember, we're dealing with a very, very conservative Congress. So it isn't like all of a sudden we're going to get this great progressive movement. All of us, you know, we're going to have a Supreme Court that is going to be right-wing for years now. And we got a very right-wing Congress that didn't want to do anything with President Obama.
Got a bit more, talking of Obama, a bit of breaking news. Kellyanne Conway, who is Donald Trump's right-hand woman, been running his campaign for the last few weeks, has told NBC that President Obama has now called Donald Trump tonight. No details of the conversation, but that, I mean, you know, they've been laying into each other so viciously, and then suddenly it's all over, and they have to make these tortured calls.
And really mocking him for the last week on the campaign trail. I mean, Barack Obama,
he did, but how does it affect? Let me ask you, Ben. Obama did mock Trump. He called him, you know,
a lot,
all sorts of names.
Michelle Obama wouldn't even mention his name in his speeches.
Here's the question: how does this actually impact on Obama's legacy? Because Hillary Clinton's big position, and she brought the Obamas in to help her fuel this, was we're going to have more of the same. We're going to build on Obama's legacy. Trump is going to rip half of it up.
Tonight was a huge referendum on Barack Obama's legacy, and it's a huge referendum on his biggest accomplishment. No, but it is, because Hillary Clinton said, if you vote for me, you're going to keep getting what we've gotten.
I understand.
And so I would say this. I think one of the big things that turned this election was, in the last 3 weeks, Americans got their premium increases. I got one. Said your insurance is canceled. I buy on the exchange. And your premium's going to go up 40%.
Things have to be
Those
fixed.
things are going to be fixed, and it's on
20
Obama.
million more Americans had health insurance than had it before. Does it have to be tweaked and made a little better? Yes.
Okay, well, he's the president-elect.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I don't think you can write that narrative until we've given Donald a chance.
I agree.
That's all.
Let's give the man a chance, because he is going to be president whether we like it or not.
Bingo.
So let's just not cry over spilt milk.
That's all from Good Morning Britain. It's a historic day. Donald Trump defied all the odds, and opinion polls will become the next president of the United States of America.
ITV News will keep you updated throughout the day with the latest reaction. Good Morning Britain's back tomorrow from 6 o'clock, but from now, from Susanna, myself, all of our team here, great team, by the way, and President Trump-elect. Who would have thought? Bye.
Donald Trump will take Ohio.
What a night and what drama.
Donald Trump is looking likely to become the 45th president.
The country is deeply divided, and she lost.
Did I mention it was 2016? Did I mention it was the year of the underdog? Leicester, Brexit, and now Trump.
It was always too close to call.
I think America needed a change.
4 hours a day.
Jerry! It's official. Donald Trump is elected the President of the United States of America.
It's probably not the result you thought was going to happen this morning when you went to bed yesterday evening.
The President-elect of the United States of America, Donald Trump.
America will no longer settle for anything less than the best. And I promise you that I will not let you down. We will do a great job.
It's an extraordinary morning, isn't it, Ranveer? Thanks very much
How
indeed.
exciting is it to be here?
I love this country. Thank you. Thank you very much.